Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, and I'm back with my good friend Tim Partridge. How you doing, Tim?
I'm good, thank you, Oliver. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Now, me and Tim are about to discuss the 1989 movie Batman. We'd been planning this for months, and now we're finally getting to do it because it's the 30th anniversary, isn't it?
Indeed.
Me and Tim, we grew up with this movie when it came out. We sadly didn't get to see it in the cinema, but we finally got to see it on VHS, and we're going to discuss the movie hopefully in great detail and hopefully provide you guys with some interesting trivia along the way. Now, if you wish to sync the commentary with your own copy of Batman, put the timestamp to 0 and press play now. I first saw this movie on VHS, sadly not in the cinema, as me and Tim were both too young to see it, as it was a 12 rating in the UK, but on video it was a 15, so we kind of had to get our parents to rent it for us, I imagine. But as a kid, seeing it on VHS, very shitty video format. I was never a fan of VHS. I wish I had a Laserdisc back in the day, but I could not afford it and probably was unaware of it. But the picture quality was so dark, you couldn't actually see what was actually happening during these opening title sequences.
Which all, of course, changed when we got DVD.
Oh yeah, you could actually see what's happening.
Finally, yeah. I love this intro. I'm quite biased towards the film. I grew up with it. I love it. I think for us it was kind of our Star Wars in some ways, I think. And I just wanted to say about this title sequence. I love that it starts off in the clouds and it goes into this shape, this form. We're not sure what it is. Is it the Batmobile careening around the road? Is it the hedges of Wayne Manor? Is it a good point? Is it a bit of architecture of Gotham City? What is it? And that sort of fits in with the themes of the film. The film is about identity. It's about appearance, versus reality, and that appearance isn't always the truth. And this starts off, you're thinking, what is this about? And then, of course, it reveals itself being this amazing bat thing. And the whole thing is a kind of investigative reporter piece. And also, this music is beautiful. Yeah, because Batman, beforehand, his theme was the 60s theme, the Batman. Yeah. But with this, Danny Elfman, gave Batman a true theme, I think, really, and it's sort of it plays on the themes of, I think, the Wolfman as well from the old Universal horror films. There's a little bit of that kind of theme in there. It's got a very Bernard Herrmann kind of sound to it, but yes. Absolutely. And I was just going to say about horror as well. One of the things I noticed when we saw a screening of this in 70mm a couple of years ago, you and I and Brad Watson. I thought for the first time ever seeing it, on the big screen, it really is. It's a revenge detective thing, but it's also very much shot as a horror film. Yes. In every aspect, and it's pacing, and this music with the organ and everything, it's very dark and gothic, Well,
Tim Burton was a big fan of sort of Hammer horror, and things like that. So it sort of stems from his sort of love of horror cinema growing up, And we made the Sleepy Hollow later. I love this shot of the city. Who did the matte painting for that? This is a miniature. But the first shot is a matte, isn't it? It's a miniature. Yeah. It's a miniature against the backing. Look at the layers of people they've got in Gotham City. Walking, pouring out of that cinema in the background. It's every filmmaker's dream, I think. Well, for me anyway. Wouldn't you just love to be on a set where you got people just driving around in loops? In buses and cars and stuff. And that's the film begins with this family who come out and they're very nervous against everything else. They're sort of kind of ignored and forgotten about, but it's a really, for something that's seen as sort of at the time it was the gritty new version of Batman. It begins with a family and it's quite a threatening world already. Yeah, but also sort of the biggest fears that you can kind of have as a kid. Of your family being humiliated. And that child running around with a map just makes everything seem bigger. Because you could think, if you weren't totally familiar with the origin stories of Batman, but knew a little bit, you may think prostitutes in Gotham City. Yeah, you may think this is Thomas Wayne and his kid. Yeah, you're right. His wife, it could almost be an origin story, which the film actively tries to. You quickly realise that no, this can't be Thomas Wayne because he was never this kind of nervous and didn't know where he was going sort of character. Yeah. But now we're all introduced to the thugs who
who encounter Batman very, very shortly.
And the first one who we see, I mean, it's so pasty. It looks like he's got, he's not seen any sunlight for weeks.
I don't think the filmmakers did when they made this.
Yeah. But you do get a feeling with him, that a sense of remorse later on. I mean, this is horrible, having a family at gunpoint. But within 2 minutes, you're already invested in the film. And I think it's on kind of a, family being threatened is something I think we can all relate to. And as I say, being an adult version of Batman, it's weird that it opens up with something that would, be so relatable to children.
Because over here seeing now, because we introduce sort of the Batman in the background, but the character you were sort of saying that the first thug, he's sort of the remorse he has, because he's also paranoid about this Batman figure that's been roaming Gotham for a short while, because this is supposed to be Batman's been around for maybe a year or a couple of months, something like that.
Yeah, and also too, as you say, he's nervously looking around, but I mentioned before about horror movies, and I think this is your typical, kind of trope, horror movie trope, where you've got two people sat around a campfire talking about the legend of the monster. Is he real? I've heard that he does this, and da-da. And this great wide shot here, you notice there's an archway where Batman sort of glides into elegantly. This is total horror. Whenever you watch any horror film, you'll notice that a lot of the sets, the production design, you'll have people, kind of in the middle of a room or close to the camera, and in the background you'll see depth with an archway, and your eye will be looking at it constantly, and it's there for a purpose, because it's there to make you think, when's it coming. It's sort of almost like a red herring, a lot of the time.
You can hear him behind you as he seems to shuffle.
Well, this use of gravel, the sound design, I just love it. And, this is just iconic, isn't it, this stuff?
This imagery here,
it's just burned
seeing
into
Batman
us.
opening up his cape,
I was going to say about the guy we mentioned earlier, the pasty one who we think shows remorse. If you look, they cut to him twice, and you just get his reaction shots of him. You look at him now with his eyes bulging open,
real, doesn't he?
and he sort of gulps, and it just tells you so much. It's just this regret. Oh no, I've messed with the Batman. It's setting up the legend of Batman so well, so early on into the film.
It's knocking down the campy image of Batman very quickly. And that's what they were trying to do for a long time, because that's how everyone was familiar with Batman, was through the Adam West show, which I love the show because it was still on TV.
Yeah.
When this came out, I was reading the comics of Batman and watching the 60s show, and then I was so excited to see this film because it was so radically different.
Yeah.
And very, it looked I was far too young to even attempt to see it. I was gutted.
Just look at that; it's just amazing. And the use of red. You notice there's bits of red.
Yeah.
Electric signs, it's all sort of murk, and then you've got red and you've got green. What's red and green that comes later in the film?
The Joker.
And we'll talk a bit more about that later. I was just going to say that the casting director of this movie was Marion Doherty, who had cast Lethal Weapon for Richard Donner. And if you read in Empire magazine, Donner had said, told a story sort of admitting that she had surprised him with the casting on Lethal Weapon of Danny Glover as Murtaugh, because Donner had never thought of the character as being black. And
because Shane Black had never written him to be black.
And Donner had said it had changed his way of thinking. And interestingly, here there is a similar, colourblind casting in that we've got the legendary Billy D. Williams, one of our favourite genre actors from Empire Strikes Back, and many other, great films, playing Harvey Dent.
Yeah, because I don't recall Harvey kind of being drawn in a way in the comics to be a black guy, but I think it was quite inspired sort of casting, because it's a shame really he never got to fulfill that role of being the proper Two-Face. Come Batman Forever. I think he may have had a contract, but they may have had to pay him to get out of it.
I was just going to say earlier in that sequence in the ballroom, that's the ballroom of Pinewood Studios. Actually,
isn't it?
If you have a wedding at Pinewood Studios, that's probably where you're going to be. And I love it here too, just getting into the. Introducing Jack Nicholson and as Jack Napier and Alicia. I love her kind of, she's this Vogue supermodel, it plays very much to appearances and identity, and they're very proud people as well. He goes and he looks at himself in the mirror. I love, it's probably the most, almost the kind of, the one element of the film where, even though it's created its own self-contained reality, having stuff like Vogue magazine actually in the thing, it connects with real life, but it's so kind of overdone and proud, and obviously all this ends tragically later on.
It's interesting with the casting, obviously Jack Nicholson, because he gave the movie its momentum to sort of get made, because it gave it everyone the confidence that it was going to happen, because what's even the case of Superman with Marlon Brando, a big actor playing a role within it, and obviously this time he's playing a villain. Jack Nicholson is, but he got an amazing deal out of this. He got profit share, and I think it was also he had a percentage in anything related to the Joker. And they're sort of, I think DC Comics or Warner sort of, got themselves into a corner with that. And I think because he's called Jack Napier, he's not. I don't think he was ever called Jack Napier in the comics. He was just a Joker. So they basically created a new version of the Joker. So now he's obviously he's not referred to as Jack Napier, because then that's Jack Nicholson's version. But yeah, that was quite crazy. But yeah,
and then genre
what's his name? Yeah.
William Hootkins.
That's right. Yeah. It's in Star Wars, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, there was a thing. I mean, they made a lot of these films that are set in America, but they'd film them in Britain because it was cheaper. And in Batman's case, I'm not sure it was purely down to economics, but they were always pulled from the same pool of these kind of American, these Brit-based Americans.
Yeah, because they've got the same Canadians. Because he's another actor pops up later on who's in Red Dwarf and Superman 4.
Mac McDonald.
Yeah, he plays one of the clowns, doesn't he? Later on, sort of mimes.
Alexander Knox as well, who's really the kind of, he's almost like him and Vicky Vale.
Yeah.
They're almost like the eyes of the audience, because you can't really relate to anyone else. Everyone else is so messed up. But we're also showing, again, corruption. We're showing things aren't quite what they seem on the surface. We've got a policeman who's, in control of everything, but we're about to see the first bit of corruption. I love how Knox, he seems totally dwarfed by everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm always expecting, even now when I watch it, I'm expecting something terrible to happen to him, because he's so naive.
He kind of gets off scot-free for the entire film. He gets knocked out, but that's about it.
And then we hear the introduction of Tracy Walter as Bob,
Jack Nicholson's best friend
in real life.
Yeah,
and I love these sets so much. They're so beautiful.
Because it's sat at Pinewood for like 2 years, because Warner Brothers had paid for it to stay there because they're going to make Batman 2. And then they decided to shoot in America. And if you go on YouTube, there's people that jump, like back in the 90s, who just snipped over the fence and just wandered around Gotham City during the day. It's crazy, because there wasn't much going on during the early 90s in the UK because of the recession. So nothing big was happening. So Batman happened, and then nothing else for a while.
Well, they had Alien 3 and maybe Son of the Pink Panther.
Yeah, well, that's 2 years later. They probably knocked down, the Batman set to make some of the Alien 3 set, I imagine.
But this is a great confrontation scene between the two, these two villains, and I love the first part of the film with Joker, with Jack Napier. He's, he's really proud. He's very calm. He has very short patience.
Yeah.
He's a man of few words.
Yeah, but it's stemming the seeds. It's sowing the seeds. Sorry, that he is a psychopath. He snaps really quickly, but also he's also very controlled as well.
Yeah.
So he's it plays into the sort of the building blocks of the Joker.
Yeah, and now we'll talk a little bit about we were saying just before we did this commentary. To many people kind of growing up, this sort of seems like a fantastical version of Batman set in a fantasy world. But really, as with the mayor looks quite a lot, actor Lee Wallace, looks a lot like the mayor of New York at the time, Ed Koch. And there was a lot of urban decay in America, and particularly in New York, well into the 80s, and he was one of the people who kind of started the beginning of the cleanup of that. So really, even though it is this fake, fantastical Gotham where everything's built on a set, with Tim Burton, etc., whatever, there is a reality there, And amusingly, Hollywood Reporter even said in its review at the time, it's quite amusing how they've cast Ed Koch, the real Ed Koch, as the mayor of Gotham. This, by the way, is St. Pancras train station. That's is the hotel.
And I think Nolan used it again for Batman Begins, didn't he?
Yeah. And the introduction of Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale.
Well, he originally cast with Sean Young, and she obviously hurt her leg doing this sort of horse riding sort of trip, I think it was. I think it was a sort of introduction to sort of some of the crew, and they did this sort of horse riding thing. She fell off, hurt her leg, and she couldn't play the part. And I think Sean Young would have fit quite well with her look in this film, like in terms of that sort of 40s look? Because obviously in Blade Runner you associate her with that and that sort of Art Deco, not Art Deco, but kind of that sort of film noir.
Well, Kim Basinger also had a separate costume designer as well.
All right,
who's listed in the credits. So her look is kind of a bit more, it's less timeless, I guess, than everyone else's.
Her apartment's very sort of Art Deco.
But it's the only cream kind of light environment in the whole thing. But these two characters, Knox and Vale, they're really the heart of Batman, I think, because you can't really it's very difficult to relate to the Bruce Wayne as portrayed here, who's kind of a bit sort of socially awkward, and reclusive.
These two are they sort of feel like normal people in this world, and they're having normal conversations.
Yeah,
and they're sort of he's obviously quite flirtatious with her, and she's just like, nah, not interested. But then you go straight into this comic book world now with these kind of comical kind of mafia bosses. We've kind of Jack Palance,
the great Jack
Palance, completely over the top with his delivery. It's wonderful. I don't think he liked Tim Burton that much. I recall some sort of quote that Tim Burton was quite intimidated by him.
There was I think it was on Jonathan Ross, wasn't it? When Tim Burton said that I think he was giving him direction on a scene, and I think Jack Palance had said something like, "How many films have you done?" or whatever,
Yeah.
But he's a legend, I love hearing Oliver Reed talk about Jack Palance, because he was one of the first. I know he's kind of playing a bigger than life character here, but he'd done Shane, and he was one of the first kind of seen as one of the first actors to kind of be mumbling on screen and not talking in a stagey way, and here we're setting up the whole thing.
She's cheating on him with Jack Napier, and he's completely sus to that. Because now he just he knows. She just looks at him.
But they're all playing again. It's playing on appearances. It's playing on who she's actually with him, and and he's the other interesting thing about Jack Napier too is later on when he becomes the Joker, he becomes obsessed with art. Here at the beginning, he's not alive to it. When he's in, the only thing he's interested in Alicia's apartment is his reflection in the mirror. I love the music here. The rumbling, that kind of that timpani sound that kind of goes over. It's when he says the fumes in that place, and you just know, there's going to be well, this sounds like a great idea. You're going to be going to a chemical factory and having a shootout. Like where it's going. It's grisly and it feels kind of awful. There's a great sense of like. Bad taste with this film as well too.
It's not kid friendly sort of movie, and it was. I don't think that their intention from the get go, but it was really, as I said at the beginning, it was to sort of dilute that image of Batman from the past.
But it's kind of morbid too, and I was just going to say, this is a weird link, but I kind of see like with the 80s, there was this weird thing of like, this kind of these morbid, kind of dark. Humor, morbid dark humor in mainstream films, and you had things. I'm thinking like genre, like Ghostbusters. Even though it's a comedy. When I was growing up, and I think we've spoken about this before, but it was it's got dead people in it, and that librarian, it's terrifying to a kid. And then Burton went and made Beetlejuice, which is about the dead as well, and that was a big hit. And this film has dead bodies all over the place. And it's weird because people will say, you need to make things safe and commercial. Well, in the 80s, safe and commercial was dead bodies, and dead people. We're sick. People are sick. We're attracted to morbid subject matter, I think, and we can cope with the dark sense of humor. We love, I don't know, it's a weird thing. This is kind of cool, this sequence in Wayne Manor, because there's so many people, but you see like a few butlers, but there he is, Alfred. You're waiting for Alfred. As a kid watching this, I mean, even when you just cut to seeing the stately home, straight away that's Wayne Manor, and it's like when we were talking about Ninja Turtles before, in another conversation, you're kind of ticking the boxes, of things that you recognise, that are part of the mythology, again playing on appearances once more. We've got Bruce Wayne, his first intro.
The first time we've seen Bruce Wayne. I mean,
he's pretending not to be him.
Yeah, which is great because it's
Dead Flowers. I'm going to mention that in a minute.
This gives us a chance we talk about the casting of Michael Keaton, because it was extremely risky and the fan base went apeshit basically, and even the Wall Street Journal had commented on this on. They don't usually discuss movies in this way, and casting choices of all things. But people writing for that paper were upset, and they were expecting a Beetlejuice kind of Batman, because that was the last thing Tim Burton had done with Michael, and they had to put out this teaser trailer very quickly to
reassure people.
This is not, first it's not the 60s one, and also we've made the right decision here with Batman. Even if you watch the teaser trailer now, people went crazy for it when it came out, but it's a terrible trailer. It's so poorly put together. You hear
full of production sound.
You can hear the edits and the audio. But
it was amazing. It blew us all away.
It's like someone put together in their lunch break, But it was, that was. But it worked really for a lot of people. I mean, Keaton, he's got the sort of frizzy hair. He hasn't got the defining big jawline, but he's got the look in the eyes, and his eyebrows are like Jack Nicholson's eyebrows. They kind of rise up like the mask.
Well, it's the whole duality thing too, isn't it? It's like they're, you made me, I made you.
Yeah.
They're the same person.
That's the theme of the movie.
Well, yeah, but also, things being different. There's a great scene actually coming up that's absolutely. I love these big crowd scenes. They look so expensive, don't they? Yeah, I love this scene in the armory. I think this is really good because this is another place where these two, the two people we relate to most, they're walking in, they're kind of mocking all these different cultures, and not really knowing what's behind these masks, and that the guy who comes up behind them, they've just assumed, because she's seen him before, that he's a nobody, so that they don't need to interact with him, and then the joke becomes on them. He leaves, and then we get that beautiful pullback of the mirror, but
it's also, it lays out that Bruce has obviously a fascination with sort of history, but it could imply that he's done quite a lot of traveling that could play into his kind of origin story of, training to be the Dark Knight, as it were, because this movie doesn't really divulge into any of that training, unlike Batman Begins, where it makes a conscious effort to show you him training and developing the Batman.
I mean, you saying before about Keaton, the whole thing about the psychology of his Bruce Wayne, and I mean, at the beginning you see at that conference he's not in that chair, it's an empty space, and he's kind of he's not quite he's not the traditional Bruce Wayne that you'd think of. He's not a socialite, at all.
No, he's not acting like the playboy at the moment, is he?
No. You don't get any sense of philanthropy either, I don't think, in this, because he's putting this up so that they're funding the, to help funding with the city.
Yeah.
But I don't think it kind of plays.
It plays out more in Batman Returns, that he's more of he's sort of using his money as sort of a not a political thing, but using it for good measure. Sure, as he sort of debunks sort of Christopher Walken's character sort of wanting to build a power plant.
Yeah. The cinematographer of this film was Roger Pratt, who had done Brazil. He'd worked with Terry Gilliam. It's interesting. He's not a, I think one of the reasons it works is because he's a cinematographer who doesn't just do action films. He'd worked with like Mike Leigh and Richard Eyre, and went on to work with people like Kate Bush, Richard Attenborough, and Neil Jordan as well.
He's a great man for hire, isn't he? Really, he can just do anything. Really,
but he's done all these artistic films that that aren't just action films, and I think you get something out of that in this film. I love this bit here with the as a kid, when you see this, when Alfred comes over and he says you know where it's going, because the story of Batman, and it's really special. See, look, they're mocking him. They're they're just seeing everything that's on the surface. They're judging the appearances and the jokes on them.
What did you think of the Batcave when you saw it? Like his computer and all those sort of multiple screens. I always thought it was quite limited in its kind of scale, because everything's all condensed into one sort of the chair and all these screens, but everything else, there wasn't other rooms or something like that. I mean,
training rooms and whatnot.
It just seemed. I suppose it was like just he's built it on the side of this kind of this underground cave, isn't it? It's just carved his way into it.
It's so massive and cavernous, though, that it just looks so impressive. I think because we know now it's a matte painting, I think that contributes something to it. But it leaves enough in your mind to think that possibly elsewhere, there'd be, other rooms, there'd be training rooms and, whatnot.
there was that reveal shot before, you know, with the camera. I was going to mention about silent movie as well, in that Tim Burton is really, really good. I think one of his key skills is just doing pure inverted commas visual storytelling, where there's no dialogue and you're just seeing things with images. He's just, I mean, he's probably one of the greatest living directors for that, I think.
For me, it's probably like John Milius, like things like Conan, because it's a film that doesn't have any dialogue. You could just watch it without any dialogue and know exactly what's happening, you know.
I mean, just look at the shadow work here is brilliant. And the blocking of sequences. He's a joy to just watch. I always love watching Burton stuff. I think you can always walk away from a Tim Burton film, you know, with having learnt something or taking something away. I love his craft.
For me, it was like his films kind of throughout the 90s, and there was a lot of typical tropes of Tim Burton where this felt like he was sort of he's been watched by others and he's been controlled in a certain way. He's still got some creativity there, but I think when he's let off his leash, you get Batman Returns, which didn't quite have the energy of this movie.
That's interesting. I was going to say too with this, because if you notice with the production design, it's all kind of greys and blacks and whites, and it's but puncturing it are the colours red and green. I love that, you know, see this when Commissioner Gordon comes through. I noticed when we were watching us on the big screen, they do this thing often, they frame things where they've got people, again, in archways, like silhouettes coming up. Yeah. And even though there's like, what, there 5, 6 cops?
Yeah.
You know, it looks like more people. And they do
the
that.
Shadows sort of double them up.
They do that repeatedly. Look, you've got the green behind them there.
Yeah.
You see red and green platted throughout this sequence and earlier on in the film too, and they're obviously doing that for a purpose. And you notice he's got the purple trousers on as well, so you're seeing all of this kind of stuff before you see it. I mean, it's just, look, red and green buttons as well, you know. It's really controlled. Burton, and you know, around this time, you know, you're getting these really controlled colour schemes that Tim Burton has. I think that's been a sort of big contributor that people have copied many times over. And
well, Batman, this film kind of inspired so many other films, isn't it? Sort of copycats in terms of kind of the visual style, I think, really, in some areas. And that's one of my favourite shots when he comes down.
Absolutely.
And you've got the shadow on his eye and his mouth.
Do you know what we don't really get in comic book films? I don't want to be all, you know, it was great then and it's not good, because it's different. This is when we were kids, you know. Yeah. Look, big green pool there, again, red on the side. Anyway, there was a feeling like with Superman and with these films, and you know, Santa Claus the movie, which is made by the Salkins, so I consider that a superhero film in some ways. But you know, when the superhero would appear, everyone looks at them like they're a god. You know, everything stops. Big red block there is again, and you get that in this. You know, everyone stops. Everyone's like, oh my goodness. You know, jaws are dropping as he's coming down.
Yeah, it's the hero shot, and Tim Burton absolutely nailed it there.
Yeah,
because he's already been introduced Batman, but this is to the wider public now.
Yeah,
people can now see him in like he's not hidden in shadow. He's like there, standing in front of you. This is interesting here because because Keaton,
love the shot.
That's a good shot. Yeah, there's a lot of them walking around. They've got like I think it's acrobatics and ballerinas doing the sort of walking.
Right. Yeah.
With the cake. So
it's very balletic, isn't it?
Yeah. So Keaton's only he's in the suit less in Returns. In this one, I think he has more time in the suit, the full suit. But I mean, we didn't mention at the beginning, but when he did the kick on the thug, he actually damaged his leg then. He's hurt him for quite a long time because the suit and the cape weighed so much. You know, not particularly flexible for some people. But it's interesting that, you know, just for the subtle things, they've got other people in the suit.
Yeah.
This is always there's no thing on his belt there, but when it cuts to a close up, he presses the button. So there was no little...
Oh, really?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
That always annoyed me as a kid.
Yeah.
I love that line. Jesus.
We've got a bit of jeopardy here now too. Yeah. Gordon's got the gun to his head. There's something really sort of elderly, you know, because he's quite an elderly version of Gordon.
Yeah.
And very squirm, you know. I feel sorry.
I suppose it's probably maybe playing on the idea of The Dark Knight Returns, which had, you know, Batman was old in that, and Gordon was old as well.
He seems very vulnerable there, you know, especially now that he's got this gun to his head. But this is all brilliant. It's all brilliantly visual stuff. Yeah. All the stuff of Jack looking around, and Jack Nicholson's a great actor. One of my favourite shots ever in a movie coming up. Do you see this shot here? Where this crab here. See it? Camera. It's just directing your eye.
Yeah.
So,
but I love when you see Batman in the background standing there watching him. And he goes, the music amps up. I just absolutely love that shot because Batman's been there. He kind of snuck in quickly.
Yeah.
And then it's that horror theme again.
Yeah.
You know.
Listen to the pipes as well. That sound. Love it.
That shot there.
Yeah. And if you notice too, you know, because he gets hit by the blood.
It rebounds off his gauntlets, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I was like, how did...
But
as a kid, I was like, how did that happen?
As he's hanging here, the colours that you see, red, green, red across his mouth.
Yeah.
Green above his head, and he's wearing purple trousers.
Yeah.
So before you've even seen the Joker, without anyone telling us, we've seen, you know, it's been, you know.
Yeah. It's already been laid out to you. What's, you know, it's subtle.
Yeah.
I suppose.
But that's visual. That's really good production design. It's amazing production design. Look, red and green. Yeah.
Well, the production, you know, they won design of Anton Furst and Peter Young, didn't they? Won the Oscar.
Look at the visual storytelling here. It's so good. Do you remember a TV show called Spats, a kid's show?
Spats? No, it doesn't ring a bell.
All right. That guy who says, who's
on
this
the right
guy?
there.
I think he's the manager of Spats on the ITV TV show. That's probably so trivial.
Was this in the same...
This is Acton Lane Power Station where
they shot Aliens.
LV426, whatever, And that's a miniature in Little Barford in, I think.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. This looks so Gilliamish, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
It's amazing.
And this is the hand coming out, you know.
It's all visual, there's no exposition. It's just, I love it. It's so good. So beautiful. The music.
Horror.
The music.
Did you play the video games when it came out? Is it the NES one or the Commodore or Amiga?
I played the NES, which is weird because it's got robots and stuff going around in it. Also, there's the Sega one. I don't know if you played that.
Yeah, the Mega Drive.
That came out like, you know,
2 years later, wasn't it?
It's like less than a year before the Batman Returns movie came out.
You know,
You know.
That was quite close to the movie actually, because my experience with it with the game was the NES one because my friend next door had it. But I was a bit like, this is a bit. Yeah, you say you've got robots and all these different weird characters in it, but the music was wonderful and it looked kind of like the movie. But I played the old Commodore 64 one, which was by Ocean Software, and that year, in I think it was 1990 or maybe 89 of that Christmas, everyone wanted the Amiga 500, which had the Batman game bundled with it.
Right.
And if you got the rental tape of Batman at the beginning, it had this competition to win an Amiga 500 with Stephen Fry narrating this commercial.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I love this moment here because he's shown the wealth he has, but you know he's playing. It's all a joke to him, because he's like, you know, he goes, "Should we go sit somewhere else?" And they go sit in the kitchen.
Well, he's doing that thing, isn't he? That he does all the way through. That the character does, you know, which is that whole thing of, I don't really know what's going. You know, you know, like he's pretending that he doesn't know things. You know?
Yeah.
You know,
sort of masquerade.
I don't think I've ever been in this. He knows perfectly well.
Yeah.
And it's a visual gag as well. They did this gag in Coming to America as well. The whole long table thing. You know, you shoot. The punchline is the table, so you shoot this. You know, if you notice, there's two singles. You got Vicky Vale and Bruce talking in separate singles, close. You know, these shots, and then you reveal the table, and that's the gag. And you know, and it's kind of cleverly done. And this is Hatfield House as well. The outside of the Wayne Manor is Nebworth House.
Yes.
Nebworth being the last place that Queen played.
Yeah. Crazy.
You know, and then they go. I'll be honest. This sequence here, when they're talking about about Bruce
falling off his horse and stuff like that. Yeah.
It kind of feels something's kind of missing.
This little moment here, it kind of it's very small scale now. It's not. Everything felt a lot bigger earlier, and obviously it's intentional for this more intimate moment.
Yeah, I like that. I just feel that the chemistry is sort of lacking between those two, and she looks a bit bored listening to Alfred.
Yeah.
Even though she thinks he's sweet, but I always got the feeling later on, I thought, you know, is this Bruce's first love? Is this the first relationship he has?
Because, I'm not sure there were probably the intention of that writing within that, or to sort of subtly think, okay, that may be happening. But I think Bruce Wayne is portrayed, I think very much so, as his playboy, but he's not. You don't really get that in this movie. No. He just says, "I've got to go for business meetings," and that was his.
He flat out lies, and then he's seen in the city, and he just turns his head and walks.
What we're experiencing with Bruce Wayne is that he's actually very much on his own. And he's just literally going out fighting crime. There's nothing else really there to explore with him. I think that was probably... I think maybe it's just down to how films have changed now, because we want more from these characters. At the time, I think that felt was probably like, that's acceptable.
Well, I thought it was lacking. I'll be honest. As a kid, I thought, this is weird. This guy doesn't look like a playboy.
Honestly, at this moment, I was probably very bored.
Yeah, sure.
I was just going, where's Batman? I want to get to another action scene.
Yeah.
And that was the sort of the problems I had with the script. And as I got older, it was like, it was put on this high pedestal for a long time, this Batman film was. And over the years, the ratings began to drop in terms of people's opinions on it. They said it was a glorious-looking movie, wonderful score, great production design, but it was lacking with its story when you compared it to, you know, especially when it was kind of reevaluated when Batman Begins came out. It was like, oh my God, Nolan's film is so much more truer to the character of Batman. But, you know, it did lack in other areas where I love this world of Batman. And we never got this world of Batman again, because Come Returns and Forever, they're totally different films.
I think there's a load of really great symbolism and use of form in this that's amazing, that really just is, you know, it's iconic. But I agree. I think
and it stands wonderfully on its own
as
well. It doesn't play on, we're setting up another film. They kill the fucking Joker at the end.
Yeah.
You know, if they thought they were going to make, this is going to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
That never was their intent. Was to make a good Batman film.
This is horror, by the way. Again, you know, this is your universal horror movie. And look, on the side, green curtain over there, red light in the window.
Do you think, because it took 10 years to get onto the screen, you know, Michael Ursuline, he had, you know, wanted to get this off the ground. You know, he loved the Donner movie with the Superman one, and wanted to sort of treat Batman seriously and trying to, you know, get rid of the campy image. Obviously, there was early drafts with Tom Mankiewicz kind of writing it. Do you think, and maybe because he felt he was probably wrong for the role, I think he said he was in terms of writing it, because you couldn't write Batman like Superman. But you know what he was writing was an origin story with this kind of 3-act structure. But this is with this film, we are thrown straight into the world of Batman. There's no like. As you were, before we recorded this, Tim was like, you know, said like, I think a critic had pointed out, like, we never got an origin story. We don't get an origin story of Bruce Wayne till Batman Forever. Yeah, that's only a 10-minute sort of flashback, which is kind of being cut down.
But also, this film, you know, it's, as we've said before, it's like Knox and Vicky Vale's film in some way, because they're the ones we're relating to. They're the ones who are covering this mystery. This is amazing. This is amazing. He's coming out. He's, you know. Grissom's come out. He's cleansed himself. He's been in luxury. You know, he
thinks he's got rid of Jack
He's
Napier.
all clean. Yeah.
He's got his girl back.
And then you've got this silhouette in a you know, in this sort of symmetrical doorway. You know, which they use throughout the film, and it's horror thing. It's pure horror. This is just pure horror.
It's interesting because when you see this now, when we saw this on 70mm film, and when you see it on Blu-ray, you can really kind of see the Joker's makeup earlier on than expected, because on the old VHS you couldn't see that white makeup until he walked into the light. You know,
it's just a taster.
I think some of the makeup was actually, you can see there's a little bit of an error with the makeup, because some of the white has come off on his shirt.
I love the kind of, what is it, the kind of Tamara de Lempicka
was it brutalist sort of
tableau thing, the mural thing on the wall.
Sorry, I thought you meant outside the window though. That's sort of the design.
There's so much tension here. I love the way it's blocked. I love the way it's shot. As I said before with Roger Pratt, I mean, this is all more or less in silhouette.
Did he do 2 of the Harry Potters or one of them?
He did. He did the second one, and he did the Mike Newell one, the Goblet one, and the Chamber of Secrets. You know,
because Peter MacDonald, who I'd interviewed for my documentary, he did second unit on this, a camera
on both and on those Potters as well.
Yeah, and he worked on Batman and Robin. But in this film, he said that John Peters obviously gets a bit of a bad rap because of his kind of mad ideas he has, and the whole Superman Lives, you know, debacle. But it was Peters who put a lot of action into this movie. You know, because he said if it wasn't really for Peters, it would have been more of a character piece movie.
It's got a great sense of showmanship. You know, oh, look at that. I love this sequence so much. And played to that Beautiful Dreamer track as well. Just playing on expectations. You know, and a corpse just lying out. But there's a great sense of showmanship. And I know Batman Forever with the fans, you know, the Joel Schumacher stuff isn't that regarded. But I remember when that came out, and there were people queued around the block, and it had a great sense of showmanship. There are all these amazing scenes like you have
in this film, where you've got tons and tons of extras in these huge sets.
It was huge. It felt huge, didn't it? The action sequences were really kind of amped up. I think they were probably more explosive come Batman Forever. They were. I think there was a conscious effort to sort of give people more, explosive action. Because Batman Returns had very much dialed it back. With this movie, it's got a great kind of third act battle where you've got through the Gotham streets, and then he goes into the cathedral. Returns just has this, this bat boat sequence, and then it just has a bit of a kerfuffle in the Penguin's lair. That's quite weird.
It's a nice visual.
Yeah, in that case,
makes
pretending
no sense
to be a bad.
Yeah, Nicholson, I think, is an amazing Joker.
Oh, he's he's wonderful.
If you
he's got the laugh as well. It works.
Yeah. Well, you think that's a prosthetic piece that's been glued on at the front.
Yeah.
And traditionally with masks, you're always told the less you do, the more comes across. And he's acting through it, for most of the film. And it's all these little subtle nuances and just decades of knowing as a professional actor,
what to do,
where to move, how much you move on what focal length lens or whatever, He just
because Jack Nicholson became he kind of looked after Tim Burton because he knew what producers were like and the people above, the sort of in terms of bullying and sort of pressuring him. And Jack was this kind of force field for Burton to sort of look after him. And Burton said, when they shot this, they shot so much during the nighttime sequences, he didn't see daytime for months.
Yeah,
that made it so ill.
Shot in Britain as well during
and it was
winter.
a winter of '88, and it's just insanely cold. And they hadn't built a giant city like this since maybe Supergirl.
Yeah.
It's mad.
With a lot of the same people as well.
The same, set decorators and stuff.
Assistant directors. And,
That's what I love about this movie, because it's a British-made kind of movie, and where the sequels are all just glossy kind of American-controlled films. I just love the sort of the roughness of this one. And I think that even with the Batmobile, when they came to design that, they went to an American firm and said, we couldn't do this in a short space of time and get it to be the speed they wanted. And the Brits were like, we'll do it. It's designed this incredible Batmobile.
And it's funny that Tim Burton came back to Britain many years later and has probably made more films at Pinewood Studios than anywhere else on the planet.
Yeah.
I love this stuff here with Alicia. I think it's so funny. I mean, look at that. Just look at that set. You think that they build that just for these tiny sequences, and they're so elaborate, but it's so graphic. Your eye goes to it. You place, just goes to the middle. I mean, that's the other thing that it does in terms of the visuals. Is obviously it rebrands Batman very much as the that black and yellow logo that we saw all the way through 1989. Just it was used as a merchandising thing, non-stop. But equally, it sets up the branding of the Joker, who was also used, he was very, dominant in the marketing campaign. I remember going into shops and seeing, you can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs, and him, just giant stands of him. And he looks like graffiti, like purple paint that's been tossed across this monochrome backing. This is mostly a sort of grey, brown, and it's all monochromatic, and then you've just got these punching through it, this white, green, red, and the orange, and everything else is subdued, so he really sticks out. And I think in the museum sequence they literally do, they take that,
take his colours and destroy everything, in that museum. You were saying actually before we started recording was that I sort of quizzed you on, how you thought of the movie at the time, or maybe how it's changed over time, with that you felt the movie wasn't really about Batman. Why was it called Batman? It could be called really the origin story of the Joker. And that's what happened throughout those four movies, though, wasn't it? Where Batman always took a step back. He was like a supporting character in his own movie. Where he was, it was kind of Tim Burton's intention was he should be in the shadows.
Maybe the third one, I think.
He was more prominent.
Whatever you think of.
But the villains were very much, they were casting the biggest actor at the time, genuinely, to sort of play these villains. And they often took over the movie.
This is good too, the appearances, an identity. You've got him, you've got Joker, who already has been Jack Napier, who's now become this white bleached monster.
is now putting on this extra layer of stuff over the top to confuse people even further. He's doing a version of what Bruce Wayne does. You know, I mean, it is rich. There's lots of stuff there. You know, I know it's not, you know, the most coherent film at times, but you know, it's just layered, and the imagery and the way that, you know, symbolism is put down. You know, it's quite rich. And it's fun to see in a superhero film. You know, it's not just a straightforward action piece.
Because this was the movie that sort of, you know, defined how studios marketed their films, wasn't it? Because it was also one of those movies, because Star Wars had a huge merchandise tie-in, but that was very much, you know, sort of not an afterthought, but Lucas knew where this was going, where toys would come in, play a big part in the movie's success. With this, they went full force by linking so many different companies to push out Batman cereal, pajamas, toys, everything, and you just couldn't escape from Batman. As a kid, you know, I got the Toy Biz, Batman, Joker, Batmobile, and the Batwing. I always wanted the Batcave. I could never get it, and it was like you look at it now, or you go on YouTube, and it's all like find pictures on Google. It's not particularly good.
I was just going to say, look, you know, highest grossing movie of 1989, and there's Jack Nicholson talking to a corpse for 2 minutes.
Well, technically, I mean,
burning corpse.
It was the most successful film in America, but worldwide in '89, it was The Last Crusade.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
This was second.
But, you know, who says we don't have a dark sense of humour? I mean, look at that. Look how long they hold on the dead body for as well, you know. And this is the part in the story where, you know, Vicky Vale and...
I always thought, sorry, you know, in the bit near the beginning where the artist gives this chap here, sorry, what's his name again?
Alexander Knox.
Alexander Knox, sorry, yeah. He gives him a picture of the Batman, but it's like a bat with a business suit on. It's signed Bob Kane, but I thought the guy that gave it to him was Bob Kane, but it wasn't. You know, it was just, as a kid I thought, is that the cameo of Bob Kane?
I mean,
but it wasn't.
That's a missed opportunity. It is. You know, could you imagine if they had a Stan Lee? If it had been, you know how Stan Lee's in every film, and on Batman's film they couldn't even get him in, and he came and visited the set. I was saying before about silent movie and Tim Burton's pure narrative, you know, storytelling. This sequence goes on for there's no dialogue at all, and it's beautiful. This is weird though, because we're changing perspectives. You know, do you ever see in a Superman or a Batman film, or in a Bond film or any other Indiana Jones, where you'd see the villain walking around, following the hero around?
I don't think so.
You know,
only maybe for like a brief moment you get someone who's kind of following Bond, but I mean, there's often more shots on Bond than the villain doing.
Listen to the music and the imagery. Oh, it's so beautiful. And this on the big screen, it's captivating, isn't it? It's really and it's tragic too. And Keaton with just a few glances, a few looks, even though everyone said, "Oh, he's Beetlejuice, he's a stand-up comic." Oh no, we can't have him as Batman. Just look at the subtleties in this performance. Just so few moves, and you've sold the character. He just gets across bereavement and trauma, I think, really, really, really well. Like, it's really...
He definitely nailed this interpretation of Batman, I think. Because Batman can be interpreted in so many different ways in the comics.
That has been, hasn't it?
Yeah, and, you know,
and
for each kind of decade, there's a different version of Batman. And this came out at the right time, and it nailed it. Obviously, I had, you know, always had nitpicks about it, you know, because little subtle things like, you know, the utility belt he has has no function. Things to slide on it. That's about it. You know, you've got, you know, essentially Michael Keaton's very short person.
Beautiful scene.
Batman's, you know, a tall, intimidating character. So there's, you know, silly little things, but you know, that was my beef with it at the time. I mean, I would always love the look of it, but it was always just the story just wasn't, you know, because I showed this to a friend of mine who'd never seen this film.
Really?
Yeah, and they watched it. They just didn't like it. You know, they loved the look of it, but they was like, well, they thought it was a bit boring. You know, but as you were saying at the beginning, it's kind of Star Wars thing for us. For us.
It's an event. It was an event.
It was an event,
and it played like that when we saw it in 70mm as well. Very much so.
Oh yeah.
This sequence is amazing. This is another visual thing. There's two things going on at the same time. This looks like it was shot with two cameras, by the way. Sorry, typical.
That's the guy we highlighted earlier. That was going to be. It was in Superman 4 and Red Dwarf.
Oh, Mac McDonald.
Yeah,
Mac McDonald. Yeah, but there all these mimes, these brilliant. I mean, this is so.
I love that look Keaton gives them, you know.
It's kind of creepy but fun, and the adults look, they got children around them as well. This looks like it's stop motion almost, doesn't it, with Bob in the foreground and the other guy, even though it isn't, just because of the movement
and they're all
and the
standing
choreography.
still, like posing.
Yeah. But the way that it's set up in the frame, so you've got them entering the frame. They're not the center of the frame; they're entering the frame on the outside, and Elfman's playful music's going along with it. Like it's really enchanting and terrifying and scary. And I like the way that there's all this sort of pomposity and corruption on the steps, and then you literally get a clown walking up wearing a wedding suit, you know, holding a peacock. And look at these punchy colours, that yellow trolley that's being wheeled through.
Do you think it's a bit strange that because we saw how populated Gotham was at the beginning, and at the end it's very popular, but this sequence here,
maybe they just didn't have the money for that day, maybe because they don't shoot across the road either.
No, they don't.
Look at that. I mean, look how morbid that is.
Yeah,
you know, and cruel. And the music's beautiful. Listen how the music goes off. Listen to the power of the silence here when the music gets cut off. You just hear the machine gun fire and that spray, you know. There's so much power in that silence. Burton's really good at knowing when to cut silence, or whoever, you know, the sound designer, whoever did it. Love the way the ricochet off the side of his jacket.
It's like he's got bulletproof on, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he hasn't.
And look at the goon sat next to Jack Nicholson, who sort of shakes his head at him. As you get little details. It's beautiful. And here's Bruce being weird and socially awkward again. Hey, why? How dare you come up to me when I'm walking in the middle of public? You know,
it's like, who are you?
You know,
because he's completely just like, that's the guy.
What do I owe you?
That's the guy that killed my parents. You know.
Yeah. Or there's a trail
or you know, I killed you. You know, you know, in the he didn't kill him, but you know, he saw him fall to his death in the chemical plant.
And here's another absurdist moment.
Punctuated scene with a punch. You know?
Yeah. But it's totally absurd. It's totally, you know, it makes no sense, but it just looks cool and it's fun. It's like absurdity and morbid, you know, the absurd and the morbid come together with these films. It's the same with Beetlejuice. And as I say, I argue, you know, from a kid's point of view, Ghostbusters as well. You know, it's so much fun. Look at the decoration. Look at it. It's beautiful. This is a really nicely blocked scene with Alfred and Bruce.
It's also like with Bruce, you know, Wayne Manor changes a lot throughout each film, which is really bizarre, you know, because it's this ginormous stately manor for the first film, and then the second one is this kind of mansion on top of this hill. There is this kind of very sort of cartoonish kind of dark look to it.
Well, it's a bit more sort of, it looks more like something out of an early Orson Welles film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it looks like it's been built on a Hollywood sound set, and purposefully so. You know, I kind of get the feeling with this, because they've said, you know, when I think one of the art directors says in one of the documentaries that as they were building Gotham, they kind of ran out of money and they had to start cutting corners, you know, and you kind of get the feeling that with, you know, they had a list of locations, they got Gotham done, they got this main stuff done, and then, you know, stuff like the stately home, well, you know, we're in England, we've got them nearby, we'll wing it, we'll get something, you know, we'll get something appropriate, we'll get Nebworth and whatever else. Whereas in the second one, it's purpose built, you know, and from a design. And I guess, you know, had they had unlimited money on this, perhaps maybe they, you know, my thinking is maybe they might have designed everything from scratch if they'd wanted to.
Because it's Bo Welch, wasn't it? He did.
The second one.
Second one, because obviously Tim had worked with him. I think was that university or Disney had been with him.
Yeah. This is the he'd done Beetlejuice. Oh, well. This is the apartment, Vicky, that you were mentioning before. It's so
I love the look of it.
Gorgeous and cream.
It's like, how did she afford that place being a stills photographer? You know,
but with the big beams and the colour coordination, and it's a neutral zone. It's a neutral person, neutral zone. It just calms you down a bit, you know, as you're looking at it. Although it does kind of look a bit like a slaughterhouse in places, you know. With just like with the kitchen as well, just looks like something you're gonna lie a huge piece of cow. Here's the whole thing with the DDID nerve gas.
The Rubik's Cube. It's bizarre. You noticed that?
Yeah, but again, it's got these punchy colours on it. Yeah. Punchy primary colours. Playful, punchy. You see the bed at the back there in that shot? It looked like the one from Supergirl that Celine has. And that purple bucket, you know, at the far left.
I think this is probably Peter Young's doing, isn't it? You know, finding these bits.
But it's like, it's so...
Well, that's it. I think that those subtleties really gave it that sort of, you know, for for the Academy to see that and go, wow, look at that, look at the how things are blocked out, what they've used. It's it works.
The composition of the art direction as well, and the cinemas, the way it everything is just. It's just A grade. But this was all used in marketing. When I think of this, I think of the trading cards, I think of the advertising, I think of the cards that they had.
The trading cards, yeah, I love that set.
Posters, endless flyers and pictures of the Joker, just everywhere, everywhere,
They tried to do that, didn't they? Again, a year later with Dick Tracy, with I think it was Touchstone Pictures, or Disney themselves, tried to sort of copy Warner Brothers. And it kind of succeeded, but then not everyone loved Dick Tracy, and that sort of fizzled out quite quickly after the hype.
Right, you got Danny Elfman. It's funny, isn't it, that he cuts out that picture of Vicky? Like, I don't know what Bob's background is, but it's like that beautiful punchline too of that. All the pictures on the ground looks beautiful, but still photography is an art form and a career, and at that point it was pre-digital, and Bob is easily just knocking off these pictures that look as good as the publicity shots from the film. This is a nice gag, isn't it? Here,
of course, the sort of factory line,
beautiful
all this stuff, and he's kind of taken over the chemical plant, and no one's really kind of left. It just continued working there.
And the music, so good. I love this sequence. This is one of my favourite scenes in the film. This is so good.
Action news.
It's so good. You've got the lights going up, which is amazing, and also that's sort of a horror thing too. But like the actress on the left, that's Kit Hollerback, who I think is Kit Hardy now, and she worked a lot with Jeremy Hardy, the comedian, and she was from the London Comedy Store Players, which at the time was people like
the Rick Mail or something.
No. What's his face? Paul Smith. Paul. No. Mike Myers was one of them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but basically they had come from, she'd come from the States with these improvisation techniques, which are kind of standard now. But I was reading about it, about her background, and apparently she introduced these improvisation techniques to Britain, and a lot of those people then went on to do Whose Line Is It Anyway, and that kind of thing. You have like a circle of people. Yeah. So she. It's kind of interesting to read that just this, and I think she's great in this.
No, I love a laugh.
You're just not expecting it, and the use of those monitors as well, to play this.
That should have been a little cameo there of Ed Boy. They should have thrown in there to be the TV, the vision mixer guy.
This is so morbid as well. This is great. Such poor taste. Did you notice before as well when she had the model? The models were on TV. They had their grinning corpses. As if you would ever see that.
It's weird, the photography here. It's very kind of like you're watching like this kind of British TV show kind of mentality. Like the look of it feels a bit like something they've pulled a scene out of Life Force or something with the style.
Oh, because they're looking through a window as well. I guess too. Well, that whole thing is to make it look really, really drab. So your eye goes to look at that thick red lipstick, and these colours here too. It's a deliberate production design trick, I mean, that's how you do it that's how a lot of the time when you look at production design, you think something looks really pretty. What they've done is they've either had things on either end of the colour wheel, and they've minimised all the colours, because if you have all the colours in the rainbow all at once, it's just too much for your eyes. And Burton really, I think he was the guy really who kind of brought that to sort of mainstream.
Well, because having Tim Burton, because he'd done obviously two kind of quirky kind of movies where Pee-wee Herman
a
movie.
kids movie.
Yeah. And
a very adult comedy.
Yeah, and Beetlejuice. And having him then essentially controlling this kind of $40 million movie, being the director of, who had this kind of art house style, it was seen as a risk.
But I think people have an appetite for this stuff. It's always funny when you hear talking about people saying what's commercial or second guessing things. Like, you just don't know. If it's,
no, you don't know. No,
if it works,
you just have to sort of have faith. And filmmaking's always a gamble.
Because I think this film works. Is it? Is it the best piece of screenwriting ever? As it's shown. Probably not. But it works, and it worked, and it connected.
The sort of start, middle, and final act, they do kind of work. But there is, I think, maybe second to third act, there is a bit of a, it's missing something. Sort of connect those dots, because it feels like, how are we going to somehow connect the Joker to Batman? Oh, we're going to have to essentially change the origin story. Have Joker's killed his parents. And also, you have this sort of the moment that upset so many fans was Alfred letting Vicky Vale into the Batcave, which he would never do. And they had to correct that by, in the dialogue for Batman Returns, Bruce goes, "You let Vicky Vale into
they make fun of it,
make fun of it because the fans were ape shit."
I was going to say this scene here with Alfred and speaking with the answering machine.
Yes.
And the scene that came before it, they're shot in the same room at Pinewood. How weird is that?
Yeah.
I was going to say appearances as well. We got the whole makeup thing now going, the whole plot about the makeup. Looking at things, all that kind of pride that's set up at the beginning of Jack Napier, in suits, looking at his, his reflection and being with a Vogue model and whatnot. Now look at it.
Yeah.
He's got this white layer of skin, putting on another layer of skin while she's wearing this freaky Phantom of the Opera thing. I mean, that's really.
That's a bit twisted,
upsetting.
Because when you see what he's done to her face, and then she obviously, we found out she committed suicide.
Well, the scarring as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't fun comic book. This is dark. This is really dark stuff.
Now, this and Batman Returns weren't really sort of, I think for parents taking their children along, it's the same. I think maybe sort of similar reaction parents had with Ninja Turtles. They weren't particularly happy with the sort of the violence and the turtles using these weapons, and kids loved it.
And as soon as you dial it down, everyone leaves.
Everyone leaves, yeah. Turtles too.
Exactly. That's another example of that kind of thing that I'm talking about. And whenever they do try and dial it out, like RoboCop, they did the same thing too. They kind of dialed it out.
Dialed it back.
It's a weird. It's so weird, but that's just how it is. I love the setup for this sequence here in the museum. I love the way that they got the classical music playing in the background, and it's all elegant. It's all a lot of elderly people as well, too. And it's setting up this kind of this arena of good taste and but pomposity as well.
Because everything outside is sort of decaying, where inside we still got this kind of hierarchy of sort of that posh look to it. It's everything seems a bit elegant inside.
Well, there is an anti-establishment vibe to this film too. Well, the Joker, he was the second guy who got kicked out, and then he's kind of come back and he's doing crime his way. Look at this childish writing too. Look at the colours, the way they pop out, and that mask. Again, it's all in that sort of really ugly monochromatic look.
How does that little masking look weird? Look like a weird strawberry. Puts on her face.
This sequence, the editing here as well. Oh my goodness, this is just. I mean, it's in such bad taste, but I adore
all the old people's faithful in the cakes.
Yeah. But the rhythm of it. Look at the rhythm. Yes. I mean, the editor was Ray Lovejoy, who had done Aliens and worked with Kubrick. But just look at the rhythm and the way it speeds up the pace of it. There's the cuts, the way they keep. It's really good. And then the boldness to cut to this black here, that then forms again another archway in silhouette.
Yeah.
And then you got the power of silence, with all the dead bodies lying on the ground.
It's like something out of Clockwork Orange, sort of moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's Alex, And then, you got this guy in bright makeup with a ghetto, inappropriate, ghetto blaster in this area with the pink paint thing, and then and a Prince song playing.
Well, that gives a perfect opportunity to talk about Prince, because I wasn't a huge fan of the Prince stuff on this. I mean, some people absolutely love it. I mean, I kind of love the actual soundtrack to Batman Forever with Seal and U2. But Prince's stuff for like Purple Rain's incredible. But for Batman, his main Batman single was kind of a play on the 60s thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, Joker is here. Just, that the graffiti what we were talking about before. But yeah, no, you're right. I am a Prince fan. I like a lot of his work. From what I gather, this album wasn't done, they didn't spend much time on it. And the executives involved had been involved with Purple Rain, the film.
Yeah.
And Albert Magnoli, who directed that.
And he was under the Warner Brothers music label as
well.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, they had it there. To me, it plays almost like a greatest hits of Prince. It's like they've re-recorded the greatest hits, but changed all the names. It doesn't, like, Prince was very cutting edge by this point. If you listen to his albums from around this time, he was very much keeping up with the times. And this sort of sound, this has a sort of generic
86 kind of sound.
But even then he was doing. I like the way he points out the $1 bill like a kid, like a stupid, ignorant schoolboy that recognises something. And isn't it beautiful how he makes him stop at the bacon?
I like this one, Bob. Leave it.
It's just so It's so unexpected. If you notice here too, at left of frame, there's a woman holding a cigarette.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's so morbid. It is. It's crazy morbid.
Did you notice that? Because there's always a continuity gaffe, wasn't there, in this whole sequence where they're throwing paint?
Yeah,
and it cuts to a wide, and there's no paint on the on the portrait.
You know, this shot. You know, the shot of the flamethrower.
I love it. I love someone else like
that
this.
was used. I'm sure that was used in the advertising, or it was on a trading card, or whatever. But I associate that very much with this film. And the Liberace candlestick thing. You know, I mean, it's so camp. You know, having something like that. You know, because you know, if you know about Liberace and
he loved all that sort of
questionable taste, and you know,
silver diningware, you know.
Yeah, and there he is dumping it in the middle of an art gallery, you know, with all of this other stuff.
Do you remember? I remember when it was shown on TV, and because they cut out all the swear words, he went crap. He just turned one page and goes, now that's what I like.
Oh,
you know, they cut out all of that good dialogue.
I love how Jack. Do you notice he changes seats here?
He does, yeah, to get closer, doesn't he?
Because they don't. One of the things with these kind of with films, you know, you have to when you're shooting and you're shooting singles of people, they often check. You know, when you notice a close up, you'll have like now we're on a medium close up of both of them, but sometimes I'll cut to a closer shot for intensity, or you know, a wider shot just so you can see their hands, or you know, to connect the two, you'll have an over the shoulder shot. And Burton is really sort of economical and chooses these. You know, he says he's from a world of animation where you have kind of these wider shots, but Jack was they were in wider. I believe they were in sort of wider singles before, but by him coming forward and sitting in that chair and leaning in, you know, it creates the feeling of it being closer, and it's more intimidating, and you know, it's so subtle, just all these little things, you know, so clever. I love her look of disgust. She's not given hardly anything to do in this film.
She's just
Kim Basinger.
Yeah, I know. That's the unfortunate thing, because I think she came late into the game as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the Vicky Vale character had really.
No.
I don't think they really developed her on since her introduction and what she did and her obsession with Bruce. And that's kind of come to a halt now, which just becomes a damsel in distress.
For
the rest of the movie, and she just spends a lot of the time screaming. You know,
and then we got this whole thing with Alicia, and she's got this, you know, the acid scarring, which again plays into appearances and identity. And you know, at the beginning of the film, she was, you know, this very proud Vogue model, and that was all her life was. She's got the scarring, and later you say, you know, she kills herself. It's said that she's killed herself, or it's hinted that he did it. But you know, it kind of shows that there's nothing really under the surface, and Burton repeats that too. He repeats a lot of this stuff in Batman Returns because he does it with the Ice Princess. In the sequel, you know, another kind of sort of, you know, it's like he really has it in for, you know, people who are beautiful and young and mainstream. Well, he's very much about the outcast, isn't he? I mean, Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
You know, it plays into his body of work. Look at this! Just look at this. Look at the depth as well that you get shooting over.
I love the line, because I thought you were insane, because I thought I was a Pisces.
Yeah. And this is so unexpected, where she grabs the water and he does the whole melting thing. And for a moment, just because he's such a good actor, even though he's playing it for laughs and everything else, you kind of think, is he melting? Has something bad gone? And the way she's actually sympathising with him too. She's bought into his appearance, you know. And it's horror as well. It's pure horror. And this. I
love that introduction. Batman comes in.
So good.
I was confused, but what the fuck has he got on his arm? Like this weird. As a kid, I was like,
well, you think he's going to shoot him in the face?
Yeah,
he's going
to just escapes. You know,
this is a beautifully orchestrated sequence. As you say, Peter MacDonald, who directed Rambo 3 and is you know, one of the most well known of the action directors in Britain, did second unit on this. I love too how Joker slides into the close up, you know, as they're leaving. And this is just all iconic, all this stuff. It's blown
this whole sequence is brilliant. I adored this moment as a kid, because I just like fast forward through a lot of that sort of dialogue heavy scenes, or just like nothing really kind of happening really on a grand scale, and just sort of get to the action with, I want to see Batman. And you know, because the Gotham set was huge, but it wasn't ginormous, so I think they had to do a lot of like double takes of like the car thundering down these kind of streets and stuff, you know, to make it seem bigger.
One of the things with these big sets that I think they look, because a lot of the crew on this went and did Judge Dredd, and also even on Batman Returns, which is, you know, obviously done the States, different crew. But when you've got like a big city set, I think one of the only ways you can stop getting that Scooby-Doo effect of the background always being the same is to redress stuff.
Yeah.
In Batman Returns, even though it doesn't look anywhere near as big as impressive as this, they basically have the Batmobile going up and down the same street like 6 times or whatever, but they've redressed it each time.
Yeah.
Just with tiny things, and not, you know, when you've got something like the Monarch Theatre written across it, that etches on. You know, everyone knows geographically exactly where they are in the city, so that sort of puts you in a corner in some ways. I'm not criticising this production; I think it's amazing, but I think
you know the sort of the ins and outs of like how are we going to make this look bigger. You know.
Well, the plan would be, if I ever got to make a Batman film, if my ego was big enough that I thought, one day I get to do a Batman film, I've answered all these questions about how we get over, these things. I love it. Just look at the shot choices as well. Look at that Dutch shot of them running.
It's interesting with the shields where it's kind of this. Is that rotoscoped kind of?
Well, it's hand animation, it's cell animation.
Cell animation.
I think it looks fantastic.
They really did a great job in Returns because it was
CG.
Have CG, but it dated quite well actually.
Yeah.
This is coming up now, isn't it? I love this, the musical cue here, but this is the sort of the press photos, the press kits was this shot where
looking
about the fire. She's looking over his shoulder.
Looking down, isn't it? That miniature is beautiful as well of the walkway.
See, look, his belt has no function. He couldn't bother to reach around the back to grab it.
That's a beautiful miniature shot.
It's Derek Meddings, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. It's absolutely iconic.
He's getting away very slowly.
I was going to say, when this film came out, we were kids. We were watching
7.
Yeah. But they showed on TV early on in the morning. They showed the Batman Adam West show.
Yeah.
And we thought that was amazing. We loved it.
I loved
There's a
it.
sort of myth as well, like with kids. Certainly with adults, I'm sure this was like the gloomy, dark Batman that they really wanted, etc. But for us, any Batman was great. And when I was told, when somebody said to me, "Oh, there's a Batman film," and they'd seen the trailer, and I said, "What happens in the trailer?" And they said, do you see the Batmobile? And they say, "Yeah, there's the Batmobile." And I said, "Oh, what does it look like?" "Well, it's better than ever before. It's got a gun on it." And in my mind, that meant that it was the 1966 Batmobile, filmed in front of an appalling back projection, like in the TV show, but there was a gun on top of it. And I just thought, wow, that's where I want to be, There's great, this ninja bit here. I've always wondered if they actually got real, spark squib things on the blades.
But this is sort of John Peters' idea, was to sort of have Batman throw martial arts into it. There was a deleted scene where Bob the Goon takes on Batman with his knife.
Yeah. There's a little girl who appears and Batman saves her and she says, "Is it Halloween?"
Yeah, that's right, yeah. They cut this down on TV, I remember.
It was just the kick, wasn't it, on British TV. I love the atmosphere. The way she's taking the camera flash?
Yeah.
Isn't it like in the Batman TV show when you got the pow, bam, whap? It's kind of doing the same thing, isn't it?
That's right. There's always
great visual gag here.
Because in the photos it showed you his face, what it's implied, what she's taken photos of. Because when it cuts to a shot looking down with her photographing, you see Batman pull his mask back on. I always noticed.
Oh right.
Yes, you did get his face. Because who is this guy?
I love this shot. There's a shot here. Where is it? There's a dolly shot with a guy next to his car. Yeah, looking back. It just looks massive. It looks so big.
Is this your favourite interpretation of the Batmobile?
Yes.
Yeah,
probably tied with the animated series.
Yeah, This is my favourite Batmobile.
No. That's such a good moment.
This is always a bit weird because he goes stop, then puts his hand down.
Continuity,
then it's up again. It looks like he's smacked the smoke on his vape or something.
This is this music.
No dialogue here. Just Danny Elfman letting the score take over, and you've got this kind of horror imagery.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Going into the bells, Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, no, it's it's Dracula. It's everything. Yeah, it's so good. And the way it's shot.
Weird because in these shots here, the car doesn't seem like it's going that fast, but when you've got the camera on the floor and it whizzes past, it is thunderous speed.
and he's so uncommunicative. That uncommunicative recluse Bruce Wayne, it transitions into Batman. You don't even notice it. Nobody goes, oh, you can easily tell, it's the same person. It makes it work. It was really well rationalized, I think. I mean, I really didn't like at the time Bruce being this weirdo, this funny weirdo guy who uncommunicative and not a playboy. And now I appreciate it. I think
appreciate it a bit more, yeah.
There's a lot to it.
I understand it. It's not essentially that I totally accept it, because I love Christian Bale's kind of Bruce Wayne, where you've got the playboy style to it, and and he's thought carefully about how's this going to work, how am I going to scare people as Batman, and because in this world Bruce Wayne has built all of this.
Yeah,
this is implausible. So unrealistic, but you just go with it. It's
I mean, there's such confidence with the filmmaking. There's such this is happening and that's what it is, and you just buy it. Oh, this atmosphere in here. There's not much. I wanted to mention about the sound too, because the use of sound in this, the post-production on this film and the production was done in Britain. And beautiful matte painting, that, isn't it? Stunning.
It's incredible.
Absolutely amazing.
You wouldn't know it's a matte.
It's really a sense of wonder as well you get from it too, all this. But I was going to say, films that were sort of sound designed in England during this time, they tended to use, it always sounds like to me the same sound library.
Yeah.
The same sound library. I'd read something about something called Cinesound. I don't know too much about this, so it was all kind of like sounds, I think, from World War II and whatnot that had been recorded. And you just hear the same gunshots in James Bond films. You hear them in this, you hear them in Superman. There's lots of...
There's a lot of the same explosion sound effects.
Yeah.
Especially if you listen to... If you see Superman 3 and the destruction of the computer at the end, those explosions are used in this when the Axis chemical plant goes off.
And that's the same sound designer, Don Sharp, who won an Oscar for Aliens.
Right.
But it's this really weird... It's almost it's like they're using one channel almost at the same time.
Mono kind of sound of sound effects.
Whereas when I think of American sound designer, when I think of Walter Murch and I think of Ben Burton, they were all creating all these new sounds. And if you listen to Batman Returns, it's quite like Batmobile when it's doing the Batmobile thing. It's
I always joked in the past that it was kind of like the sound effects on the BBC Volume 5 of sound effects, and they've just used that.
But there's a purity to it. I like that it's not too delayed. And also when they do have the sounds of the Batmobile, the sounds of the Batwing in this, because they're on their own and they're not necessarily realistic, but they're up front and they're there's something about, there's like a charm to them, I think. But it's I don't know, it's almost familiar because we're growing up, we just you watch when you watch Dr. No and you watch Superman 3 or whatever, and they've all got the same sound as Aliens. It almost feels like being around familiar old people, or whatever, it's really weird. But
this is the only part really where they've shown Batman to be a detective. He's done the detecting. He's done a little bit. The only bit that sort of sets that up, he turns to Alfred and goes, "Let's go shopping." He's going to buy all those products. But Batman's supposed to be one of the greatest detectives, and they've cut through all of that and just cut through it and just got to the punchline of him saying, "Look, I figured it out. Here you go."
Just generally with a film, for a film called Batman, where the main character is, I think, supposed to be Batman, but I don't think it is in this film. No. It's like a lot happens off screen.
Yeah.
So all the detection, his emotions.
Yeah.
You see. I mean, the only time when you really see him getting his guts out about his parents, which is the whole thing that holds Batman, it's from her point of view.
Yeah.
Which is odd.
Yeah.
In a film.
Yeah.
That's
you see, everything's done without, as you were saying, pointing out about Burton's style, without dialogue, and you get some of his emotions through when he's just by himself and he begins to reminisce, and that is the only point. And then Vicky Vale comes into the Batcave.
It's kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, because all the people that whinged about,
say more is less and less is more.
Well, the whinging about Keaton, he's a stand-up comedian doing Batman, and we're not going to get all the nuances because he's going to be a funny guy being loud. He does the opposite of that, but we all complain because there's no protagonist. Because he's so introvert. They can't win.
Because if Batman Returns, Batman was supposed to have a lot more dialogue, and Keaton pulled a lot of it out, saying Batman, we don't need him to say this. It's like, no, I want Batman to talk more. I want Batman to be on screen more. Come on,
That's a beautiful map shot as well.
This is the other little bit of the Batcave is just this kind of he's got a microscope there.
It's a very 1980s black wood panel. That was a very 80s thing, and the thing in the science thing on the side.
And I love how, because Alfred has to encourage him to go do these human-like things now, these normal things. He has to go and says.
He has to be told by a grown man how to behave like a human being. Because he's not been socialised. He's got no parents. And he's lovely and elderly, Alfred. I bet Vicky Vale secretly wishes that she was the relationship was with Alfred, because he's much more. There's a lot more. He's much more communicative. He acts more like a human being. This is a beautiful scene. This is all built up, isn't it? It's really
that. Or how the camera panned there, it made the background look like just a piece of paper, like flat. Really? Yeah. Oh no, because I thought, oh wow, it looks amazing, but then it looks really flat.
She gets a good moment here. I like all the homely set, like all the set decoration, like the bunny that they had in the back. It really makes you feel neutral and in a safe ground here. Plus, it's one of the few times in the film that it's daytime. I've always wondered if they'd shot even just a wide shot of the city during the day, how different it would play, because you only see the city as a wide at night. It's like, but then you see things like this in the Gotham Globe, which are neutral spaces.
There's only kind of one wide shot in during the days when they walk out of the the mayor walks out. He's got one shot of the building in the background. It's kind of in the day.
So it kind of it plays with geography. It's I really like this scene though. This confession scene, and I think this plays a lot better as I'm older now. And
it was. I just love the moment where it's funny, but also it's a great show of Keaton's kind of aggression on camera. Where he goes,
range.
"You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts!" And that's when he smashes the vase.
It got a lot of laughs as well, from what I remember at the screening too.
Because everyone's so used to it now. It's just like
they're really on board with it. I know I keep talking about the visuals and stuff, but she's got very red lipstick there too, and I think that kind of puts you on edge when the Joker finally appears.
Yeah,
there's so much subtle sort of build up of visual stuff in this film, so clever. But yeah, the way he's trying to articulate and express himself, and he's holding back, and I as I said before, I feel like this is his first love. This is the first time he's had anything anywhere near a relationship. Maybe he's had, a fling here and there, and then just ghosted people and cut them off. Yeah. He was doing ghosting. This guy was doing ghosting before it existed. That's what I feel. And I think in Batman Returns, it's so much more satisfying that he has an equal. That he finds someone who's and is given much more to do. Oh, this is so good. And these sort of dream-like tracking shots as well just puts you in this whole dreamy, neutral sense of mind, and he's invaded this space. There's this whole setup here too with the bullet thing, which I kind of buy, I think.
Yeah, I think that's. I think that'll kind of subtly do with some body armor, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But to know that he's going to shoot exactly.
Yeah. To sort of predict that if you shot him right in the head, there'd be no more Batman.
And the popcorn, which later on you see at the cinema, there's all this stuff is. It's no surprise this won best art direction at the Oscars. An off-camera death for Jerry Hall's character Alicia, and in the sequel, when they do the same thing with the Ice Queen, you see her die. But what's fun is when they sort of turn the expectations of this on its head, because you think going in there, he's the only person. Again, he's like spray paint against a neutral background. Joker. He comes in, he's the biggest thing in the room. How's anyone going to beat that? How's anyone going to be louder than that? Yeah. And it's not going to be that little guy in the corner in the beige.
He just completely ignored Bruce there.
Yeah,
he kind of just went, well, let's walk past him.
And yet, surprisingly, Bruce turns out to be the loudest person in the room. Yeah. Nobody sees it coming. And
And I love how he's not, because I love it because he's not at all intimidated by Jack, and he just walks straight up to him and goes, "I know who you are."
Yeah, yeah. But I also love it how bizarrely Jack lets him play it out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's see where this is going. Not, what the hell, bang, you know. It's just like, let's play this. Okay, let's play this out. Let's, you know. And he really underplays it, you know. And when he mentions about the you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, he says
that's what triggers his memory.
Yeah, but when Jack says that, it's almost like he's gone straight back to Napier again, you know, until he makes a joke up about it. And, you know, another thing actually too, you know, we're saying about the origin story thing. This is where I kind of tiptoe back on things. You know, this is where I'm conflicted and whatnot. But, you know, yes, you know, showing an origin where we see Bruce and we see Bats appear as he's a young boy and, I need to be a Batman. But really, you know, from an adult point of view, you know, the idea of a kid watching his parents get gunned down by someone who says, you know, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? And leaves that scarring image in their mind that they go away and think, the devil in the pale moonlight, is that a bat? Is that where he's come from? You know, like it plants that.
In the comics, it was literally like a page, wasn't it? And that the bat came through the window, you know. And the bat, and they do that in Batman Begins. A bat comes into, you know, Christian Bale's Bruce is on the floor writing notes, and the bat comes in, and then Alfred's like, "Oh, I must have escaped from the caves below," and then that's what he figures out. This is going to be my Batcave.
But if you were a kid, as I say, you know, and somebody said to you at gunpoint after just killing your parents, you know, you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And you think about that would just be burned into you. You just think, well,
of course, yeah, that's the last thing, you know.
And I like to think that that's where
you would have heard,
you know. Oh, look at the framing here.
I just love how he, you know, ends the scene with this kind of like blowing a raspberry as he
graceful to beautiful dream
at this pretending to be a plane, you know.
It's kind of this scene. This reminds me of a bit in The Dark Knight at the beginning, you know, with the smoke bomb.
Oh, yes.
Because you're building up, you know, it's all creepy. Bruce has gone. You think something terrible. You've just seen a guy get shot. You know, you've seen the antagonist leave. And there's that, you know, there's still tension there with that box. What the heck's in that box? And then she opens it, and it's just a soft, comical punchline, you know. And the flowers. This is a trivial thing, but they're dried flowers. And at the beginning, you can see, you know, in the Wayne Manor.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah. You can see there's a lot of dried flowers. Again, playing with appearances, and you know. Yeah. They're on the outside, they're beautiful,
they're decaying,
looking, but they're dead.
Yeah,
you know. I mean, again, it's all this rich stuff, you know, that's in the film.
I mean, this is quite, you know, this is a dark moment as well, where she's like just completely burnt out on what's happened to Bruce. And,
well, are not protagonists, you mean?
Yeah. Where that photo is really well done, where you see the kid, well, Bruce as a kid, just looking at camera, and he's just like he's got a police officer in the foreground, and he's behind him.
You know, I always thought as a kid watching that, surely it'd be more melodramatic. Surely he'd be like pouring tears, you know, like out the side of his face, and
he's just numb.
Yeah,
it's shock.
And you don't understand these things until you're much older, which blows my mind considering, you know, I don't believe in the auteur theory, but, you know, Burton was, as a director, was 30, 29 years old?
Yeah, he was, pushing, nearly 30, yeah. He was, you know, we're older than him when he made fucking Batman.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous how he's managed to, well, he's a very talented guy who's managed to get to that point and produce something that is probably, you know, have themes in it that are beyond maybe his wiser years, you know. I mean, he's, you know, someone in
comprehension of somebody that life experience.
Yeah.
But he's always been playing with these themes, though, you know. This is a lovely Michael Gough. Michael Gough was such an, you know, now,
well, he's some Hammer horror, isn't he? So.
Yeah. He's not Michael Caine. He's not Jeremy Irons. He's not an Oscar winner. He doesn't need a big moment to be given. He's like a Desmond Llewellyn of Batman, you know. This is an outdoor daytime shot that you're on about.
Because it's basically a repeated matte painting of the factory in the background.
Yeah.
He just pushes that across. How's that possible?
You know, I was going to say, again, when we were watching this as kids, I was told, oh, the villain's plot is, the plan is too cartoony, it's too one-dimensional. It's so flat, it's not relevant to anything. And I kind of think it's quite funny, now as of 2019. If you look at the news, you'll see that populism in politics, has sort of been a big topic, and in its own way, with this, you've got this, this guy going up against the mayor, manipulating media.
Yeah,
he's doing this, and he's got this, he's taking, Gotham City's just, you can see it here, they're just totally unengaged with that event, with the 200th anniversary. They don't, nobody cares. There's so much corruption in Gotham City that we've seen with Eckhart and stuff before, and then this guy appears going, hey everyone, I'm going to be on a big float giving out, millions of dollars, oh, okay, we like that guy. And then he's literally on a float with the Prince song called Trust. Yeah, you couldn't make it up, and I mean, it's a very negative view of populism, but it's funny how back then I was told, this is silly and it's one-dimensional, and now in its own funny, kind of cartoony, completely over-the-top way, you could arguably draw parallels, to now, and that kind of, that fear of populism that you see in newspaper articles and whatnot. So
sure
in the news,
but then he gets all his supporters there and he kills them.
Yeah. I mean, very
that's
far-fetched.
The joke, of it all. This is the moment here, because we were talking earlier about sort of, we're not really seeing Bruce Wayne's emotions really, and I suppose, as I say, less is more sometimes. And in the case of with Keaton, where everything was kind of, he's a comedian and big and loud and over the top, and like things like Beetlejuice, he dials it back quite a lot. And we'd always, I think, as fans of Batman and the origin of Batman, and wanted to know more what's going on inside his head, this movie could have benefited from that. And it's having him just sort of reminisce and trying to think about what happened on that day, and connecting Jack Napier to or the Joker to this moment of his youth, and as I said, they're actually showing Zorro, because that was supposed to be what inspired him, wasn't it?
No, this is called like Footlight Fancy or something, and it's from the early 80s. There's a Batman Online website. If you look at Batman Online, the website, they had an interview with the creator of Footlight Frenzy,
right?
That they did. They go into some detail, but you're right, and it's we got 3 minutes now of just pure visual story. Again, I'm cliche, silent film,
no dialogue until he says, "You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?" It looks like one of the guys from Bros. He's got a massive grin as well.
Well, it's Hugo. Is it Hugo E. Blick? Have I got that correct? Yeah, and he's a director now. This film sort of reminds me of. Have you seen Blue Velvet?
Yes, I have.
It's a weird stretch, but like, in the 80s, you've talked, at length about nostalgia and how there's sort of this, in the 80s, people are sort of longing, filmmakers were sort of longing of their nostalgia of the 50s and things, and it was about suburban USA and that kind of thing, and picket fences and all that kind of thing. And then you got that in Blue Velvet. You were taking the kind of darker side of that time and going away from the nostalgia, and you can see here, I think there's lots of nostalgic elements of America that have been put, been put into this, and this would be mid-1950s, wouldn't it?
This is a moment actually earlier on, because it sort of mirrors that sort of moment where the thug we saw, who was very nervous about Robert, attacking these people, where Bob the Goon, Bob, he looked completely shocked what Jack just did and shooting them. Now he's like completely, he's out of there, he's gone.
Is that Bob the Goon?
Okay. Yeah, it's supposed to be Bob.
All right. And of course you've got the popcorn on the ground, which we've set up in the apartment scene. I mean, that's just chilling. And great use of sound, great score.
The echo of his voice.
Yes. And it looks like it's shot at like a higher frame rate as well.
Yeah, now he's got like the greatest detective ever just figured that out. Yeah, the moment where Batman fans lost their shit because Alfred would never let Vicky in the Batcave.
I'm actually forgot we were doing commentary. I was watching that and thinking, he's let her in the
My God.
living it all out again.
Yeah. I love how his chair, it's like it's been ripped from a fighter jet or something.
Well,
like
it has.
A bomber. Yeah,
They've probably gone to RAF wherever, and because that's what they did on Aliens and whatnot. It doesn't cost much. It's a very beautifully blocked sequence here, and like the back.
And it's interesting with her design. She's in pure white now.
Yeah. Throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Almost like a bride.
Yeah.
Who goes to a cathedral.
In distress.
Yeah. And this confession, this stuff is, it doesn't, it's all very subtle again, what you're saying. This is hard to do camera acting as well, too, by the way. With these movements, he's facing the camera. So they're both facing the camera. He has to turn around. He's becoming over the shoulder. She's walking over. It's becoming this kind of straight two shot. And it's, this is all technical acting that is invisible. And, and he's doing all this nuanced performance, too, on top of it. Beautiful. I mean, you see the characters kind of come, they become a lot more rounded at this point too. Sort of the arc.
There's a bit in the moment where you see him. He opens up the sort of what was it? The containment unit holding his Batman suit. He's only got one Batman suit, which is quite surprising. But as a kid, my dad had taped it for me. It was a making of on this, or it was film '89 with Barry Norman, and they basically had this special on Batman. And there was this kind of scene where you see him putting on the suit, like, putting his arms into it and the legs into it. And I think it was actually just a sort of a costume test, but it looked like it was shot really well. But I thought that was the deleted scene of him actually putting on the suit, but you don't actually see him do much there apart from put on the belt,
Oh, look at it. This is iconic, too. We should have a swear jar for iconic.
This sort of
lose money.
Well, this is the bit where, this sort of, does Batman kill? Batman's not supposed to kill.
And it's all visual again.
In this sort of play on the Dark Knight Returns, and with this, it's Batman's just out for revenge now. And
listen to this. As the sound goes off, silent. The power of that explosion. So listen to the power of it. He did that earlier.
I still think those sound effects there sound like they even come from Thunderbirds.
They do. It's the same library. I was reading about it. Apparently, it's the same library. Yeah. Look at these shots. They're so beautiful. We were so spoiled, weren't we? We just got it good. Sorry.
Well, we had this that year. The next year was Obsession with Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Then '91 we had, I don't know, Robin Hood. That was it for me, And
that's a miniature by Derek Meddings in a split screen in that shot before it was a in-camera shot.
Here comes the famous bat turn, isn't it?
Yeah. You mentioned about Derek Meddings. We haven't really spoken about the technical people.
No, we haven't, no.
Behind the film.
Because, obviously, Derek, Thunderbirds and James Bond won an Oscar for Superman.
Nice miniature there, a little doll of Joker.
I mean, this does got great miniatures in. I don't think there's a couple of shots where it kind of gives away the scales.
I love this. I love just the bright colours,
the madness of it.
I mean, I mentioned about this cartoony, arguable cartoony version of populism before, but this is timeless stuff. The idea of people being, it's the Pied Piper. It's all the, hey, there's a guy who comes who can sort all our problems out, in a short space of time, and it's all good, selling the dream, and this, the way he's positioned on this ugly, garish birthday cake with that horrible clown, at the top of it. It's childlike,
Well, the mayor wanted balloons. He gets balloons, but this time they're filled with poisonous gas.
You know. And I was going to say the assistant director on this film was Derek Cracknell, who'd done the Salkid movies with Jean Svark. He'd done stuff with Guy Hamilton. He was the AD on 2001: Space Odyssey. He worked on Aliens as well, and is actually the dad of. Do you remember the band Saint Etienne?
God, no.
All right. So he's
obscure
90s group. But anyway, he was the dad of Sarah Cracknell, and anyway, he was used to kind of doing these massive films where they had, all this, complexities of shooting with, masses of crowds and stuff, and it just looks massive. It really does here. It does, yeah. The set looks beautiful. It's really beautifully shot. I don't know if
you did second unit on Batman Returns because everything just felt smaller, and it just, whoever.
They weren't going for scale though, I don't think. Whereas on this, they really wanted to. They wanted to show off all
John
that.
Peters was really pushing bigger.
And look at the way that it's just shot as well. The weird thing is though, with the complexities of shooting this, you only see it from the front. Do you notice that? You never see it from behind.
No, you don't. No,
because that would probably be cost prohibitive, to do. And just having to redo each shot, they probably have a couple of cameras each time they're going past. The lighting design, Roger Pratt, with that, the silhouette of the floodlight at the back going.
Yeah.
This is an optical shot here because they put a matte painting above the top.
Yeah.
And also there's only one balloon as well.
Yeah.
Only one live action balloon.
I remember when we saw that on the 70mm, that shot, even on this, this looks so out of focus.
Great, yeah. Well, it's opticals.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And then we've got this amazing motion control shot coming up. Beautiful. The visual effects for this film were done by Medding's Magic Camera Company, which became the Magic Camera Company. And that was Derek Medding's working with a bunch of people. There's a load of people like... a lot of people who worked on this are now the visual effects supervisors doing the Bond movies and,
Chris Corbould and things like that.
People like Steve Begg and Angus Bickerton and, Peter Chiang, who was the founder of Double Negative, which is one of the biggest visual effects companies in the world.
That's right.
Hubba, 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 money, who do you trust? You. Do you think I think it's quite fun here too that they stay entirely on Nicholson for the whole of this.
There's no cutaways.
Bit. Yeah,
no.
They've got that big crowd there. The traditional thing would be to do as many cutaways as possible.
To get a reaction from the crowd.
There's look at this shot, that miniature, beautiful. I think that's probably a miniature on wires being pulled across, with the buildings slatted on their side. And here comes the part where I
can never understand what that guy said. Then he goes, "That was it." It's like, was that English?
You get free money and then you have to pay for it. Look at that. Look at the depth. And this is the music. It just builds up that sense of, There's
a guy in the bottom right that's kind of jigging away.
Yeah. They're oblivious. They've got no idea what's going to hit them, And the creepy, smiley, happy, childlike clown. And you got red against green, which again is very graphic. You got complementary colours. All pops out. She doesn't get to do much, unfortunately, Vicky Vale.
No, she doesn't. She just has to basically just be this woman who has to be saved, and it's a bit of a shame, really, because she's supposed to be. Well, she's in this. She's like a photographer, isn't she? But I remember in the cartoons they put her in. She would be talking to camera, like a journal.
Oh right, she was a news reporter.
News reporter, yeah. And I suppose they kind of pushed her to be a sort of more of a Lois Lane character later on. When I saw her on animated form, because she never returned again in any of the films. They didn't bother.
Look, you've got a mask and you've got a bat. Really playing with your imagery. Yeah. These great miniature shots.
This is a shot I love here when the Batwing just like thunders into the city.
Little miniature doll
dives into it.
Little radio controlled doll of Batman with its head turning. Beautiful.
This shot. I love that
it's
shot.
A matte painting.
You can see the travelling mat as it goes down. You didn't see that on film because it was it's a curve. It's beautiful. Colour grading. Home format.
Or your TV's not calibrated properly.
It has been.
This is a great miniature live action. As he hits the cyanide, that might be miniature. That's live action. That might be live. I don't know.
That's live action.
Loads of good intercutting there.
The
sound of the Batwing. Listen to it. It just comes around. You remember it. Just sticks in your mind. It's a great.
It's a sound effect. It's got bleep blop bleep when he. About to fire the rockets or
whatever. Anton Furst, I think, as everyone knows, had done Full Metal Jacket and had done Company of Wolves, and I think he started off running a company called Holoco, I think, which had the Who's laser that appeared in a lot of. I don't know. This stuff I've read. Please go away and verify this. But I think that's where he came from, because he didn't come from the traditional route of being an art director, production designer, and go working his way up. He'd done a film called High Spirits with Derek Meddings before this, directed by Neil Jordan, right. And it has very similar-ish production design. And Tim Burton has said that he wanted both. In one interview, he said that he desperately wanted First to do Beetlejuice,
right?
But he was unavailable because he was doing High Spirits. But then I've also read that he wanted Bo Welch to do Batman, but the unions in Britain wouldn't let him.
Yeah, you have to make use of the English talent, don't you?
At that time, I think. But but the thing with Gotham is, I think it's just absolutely stunning, but it's quite European, the notion of having the tallest building being a cathedral. And also, when I think of cathedral, the biggest cathedral in the States, I think in New York, I think of St. Patrick's.
Right.
Which doesn't look like that. It's more horizontal, whereas this is very vertical.
Yeah.
And it sort of, alludes more to kind of things like fairy tale castles and it's got a European vibe to it.
Yeah, it does.
Which, is kind of odd with it. And also, too, one of my friends pointed out, that's very dark, isn't it, the way he shoots Bob? It's very, very dark. One of my friends made a good point that in this film, as opposed to the second one, it's so ugly. And it's so it's urban decay. It's of the 80s and 70s, ramped up so far that it's not a city worth saving, and that's kind of a problem. That's beautiful. That motion control shot with the fluffy cloud. Brilliant.
Well, it's iconic because it became the album cover for the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I think there's a good point to be made about Gotham in this not being so inviting. Whereas in the second one, it has a Dr. Seussy kind of fluffy vibe, and it has it has gift wrap stuff everywhere, and and it's got the department store. Look at that.
That feels very 60s. The department store. The interior of it.
Yeah.
With this is very much in the world of the late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, it's got deco elements.
It feels like it's part of the depression. Sort of.
But it's also rotting, and I guess too with the gangster
Batman
and stuff.
Batman at the end, he's come to bring a sense of light. He's a dark character, but bring people out of this kind of this depression and to save the city where it's on its last legs.
Yeah. The other thing too about the cathedral is that it's like a mile. How do you show a city with literally no faith? You have a mile-high burnt-out cathedral in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So symbolically it works. It all makes sense. Yeah. It's just it just is such a place of dread that you'd never want to go to. That when he does save it at the end, and the last shot is still at night as well. You're kind of, this is so absurd. This beautiful.
My friend used to wet himself with laughter when he pulled his ginormous gun out of his trousers.
I mean, they sold Tim Burton's style on absurdity at the time when it came. I remember in the publicity. Here's Derek Medding's miniature.
See, there's one shot where it kind of something does look like a miniature, but there's some parts where it looks wonderful.
I think it looks great here. It's the last shot,
yeah.
Right? They cut to what was probably a C camera shot there.
Yeah.
And you think, why is that even in it?
Yeah.
They could have cut around that. They could have cut to these flames.
That destroys its scale.
There's this elegant filming of Roger Pratt. I mean, he'd done films like Mona Lisa before this, and Mike Leigh's High Hopes.
Bob Hoskins one.
Yeah. As I said, he'd done Brazil, which any cinematographer who's just got Brazil on their CV, frankly,
you're hired.
Yeah. But also you've made your place in history, and
Did you do the Baron Munchausen?
He did the miniature unit on Baron Munchausen.
That's amazing.
He did the Fisher King.
Film.
Fisher King. He did 12 Monkeys.
But I never saw Fisher King.
But he's an art. He's a cinematographer of films with actors and stories, and and it's so fresh to see. Rather than them hiring the guy that had done an action movie, which you'd probably think, stuff. Oh wow! Look at the miniature. Look at the depth, detail. I didn't realize.
Tim hasn't watched this on Blu-ray before.
That's stunning. And here we go again with the horror stuff and the
I love how he sort of just comes
rising from the dead.
Yeah, comes out of flames. I love how because the Batman suit was kind of more redefined, more sort of polished. Come Returns, it's more. I don't know. It seems more symmetrical. I think really, where this one's a bit more rough around the edges. I like the rough around the edges suit. And I love how he's all beaten up at the end, and it's all ripped up, and it's all a bit dusty. And I just like this kind of the design, even though practically, I think for the actors who portray Batman throughout the years, their suits are always just really cumbersome and just like they can't realistically couldn't do all these things in them. For the Nolan films, there was a practicality about everything. He could turn his head,
Yeah.
The sequel to Dark Knight. But with this one, I just love. It's a favourite look of the Batsuit for me because it was. I think for anyone when they saw Christopher Reeve's Superman in that suit. That's the suit. That's Superman's suit. I mean, I wouldn't want it any different. With this, I just fell in love with that costume. I love how he's got, because Nike designed the boots, so they create this kind of, basically the bottom half is like this trainer with this Velcro piece on. Velcro. I mean, I haven't worn Velcro on trains since I was a child.
Yeah. This is quite visual as well. I mean, this is another sequence where there's virtually no dialogue, if any.
And the music's doing a lot of the work as well.
Yeah.
Took away the score. This would not work.
Can you imagine it with a synth soundtrack?
It would not, yeah. I mean, this is, the style is so, Bernard Herrmann, isn't it? It's
Look at that. Look at the beams of light. Again, beautiful, beautiful cinematography. There's a great shot coming up when Commissioner Gordon arrives here.
A bit, as you were saying, because
before we
recorded
this, massive plot hole.
Plot hole. The police, where the fuck were they the entire time?
Why did they let it happen?
Yeah,
but they were making it up as they go along. I mean, this shot here, where they're all coming up the stairs and it's symmetrical, and there's use of lines here. Look, can you see we've got another art shot with people coming through? It just looks so good. Like, they worked out a language. This is one of my favourite sequences ever in films, like the rhythm, everything, the camera movement. I mean, it's so, the blasphemy of it too, having a clown with a gun in a church. Just the dark humour of it. He just casually, he's smiling. He's got complete arrogance, doesn't care whatsoever. It's so surreal. It's so mad. Look
at that. I mean, that church sequence downstairs of all the pews. I mean, it's like something out of Dracula, isn't it? You got the smoke, the atmosphere,
and but just that really iconic purple, and the look, the cinematography, it's burned across this monochrome stuff, And that miniature Derek Meddings is very good too. I could just stop talking and watch the film. It's
And then this bit, completely takes the police out of it again.
Yeah, well, that's
completely useless.
Yeah, it's kind of cute as well. Like, you've got Commissioner Gordon and you've got Alfred, and they're so elderly. I mean, look here. He's pushing it. Well, I can't push it myself. So my other 5 men, we should all go to the,
let's get out of it. Let's get some.
I've decided that I can't push this out the way. Well,
coming up in the moment is the another great shot, which they pushed in the trailers, wasn't it? Where you see Batman walk away, and he goes, and you hear the Joker from the distance say, "Shall we dance?" And he turns around to camera. I mean, that's just a, great shot of Batman. It's the bat turn, It's also he's got another weird gadget, hasn't he, on his wrist that extends out, because the guy does all those backflips towards him, and he's got those weird like knives at the end of his feet, and he just sticks his hand out and it extends and hits the guy in the groin, I think, and knocks him down. I think the stunt man on this movie, I think he has a Facebook page or something like that, and he shows you all the sort of the behind the scenes photos of him in the batsuit, and he's in the batsuit a lot doing all these moves.
I was going to say, I also feel, this is just a weird thing, but it, as we said before, she's wearing all white as she's come into this, and it looks kind of bridal, and they're going into a church. There's symbolism there, but with and if I'm to read that she's his first love, and but also I almost feel like, because he's this guy, Bruce Wayne is he's bereaved, and he has these obvious psychological unresolved issues of grief, and the church would mean something, especially as before he actually went to the alley and put he put the
was it roses, or whatever?
But he didn't he doesn't. There's no formal memorial or anything, and I kind of feel
he doesn't go to their. I mean, I think their bodies would have been taken and buried anyway, because in Mask of the Phantasm they've got this big grave, which is actually probably one of the best origin stories of Batman, really.
But I wonder psychologically for Bruce Wayne, just playing again on the imagery and the significance of this cathedral. In some ways, I think this is like this represents Bruce's mind in some ways too.
That's a good point.
Because this is a big fear. This is something that it's an unresolved thing that he doesn't want to revisit, and he's being forced into it by a clown with his makeshift bride, to be.
I think if there was more play on his bereavement of losing his parents, like if he had like in Mask of the Phantasm, he goes into that room and you got the massive mural of them, and he's like got the lightning and the rain outside. Just have him sort of, preying on his thoughts. That'll probably reinforce that.
Just on the duality as well, you've got if Batman is a devil dancing in the pale moonlight with this guy, and then you've got the Joker is kind of a devil dancing in the pale moonlight with Vicky Vale,
Well, this is all kind of thrown in very late into production, wasn't it? Because John Peters and Jack Nicholson went to see Phantom of the Opera, and we want this scene in the film. And
you can feel that vibe, I think. Yeah. You really can.
Because there's no dialogue here. It's just an action sequences that have probably been put together relatively quite quickly.
But he says at the beginning...
the music there, sorry, he's like stumbling like a drunk man. The music's copying him.
The rhythm is just amazing.
Ray Lovejoy's editing superb here.
Just the rhythm. I just love the rhythm of it.
It's like Ray Charles is just taken out. Ah!
But he says at the beginning of the sequence it's going to take 10 minutes, and it takes about that, I think.
It does. I think I've actually timed that once. It does take 10 minutes.
Oh, another horror trope thing that I mentioned before. The archway in the background. That's all there for a purpose, guys. Yeah. That's there so that you're going to look at it. And the way it's shot as well, it's actually lit. So it's on a higher exposure than everything else, so your eye goes...
Because when we saw this in 70mm, I remember Brad turning to us, and I think you probably agreed with him, it's like the final reel, it felt rushed, like the audio mixing felt really...
I think it was just a faded print, though. I think that was...
You think? Oh, the print looked mint. The print was absolutely pristine for 70mm. I mean, it was...
Yeah, but the sound went at the end. It wasn't consistent. It sounded like that was more to do with the print than...
Right.
Than the actual quality of the film, because it sounded. I don't think they'd intentionally do that. I mentioned to you before that she's in a film. Kim Basinger is in a film called My Stepmother is an Alien.
Oh yes, with Dan Aykroyd.
And she's very funny and she's very quirky. And I think we're biased in thinking that if Sean Young had done this, she would have been quirkier, because you think...
Well, she's quite an eccentric woman that we've kind of come to discover years later.
Well, also she was in quirkier films like Dune and Blade Runner, as opposed to big blockbusters, Whereas Kim Basinger, I think certainly for us it was, everyone used to go on about 9.5 weeks. Even Blind Date and, and she was very...
So have you noticed, with Batman here, he's dropped the Batman voice.
Right.
When he says to him, "Excuse me, you ever dance with Devil in Pale Moonlight?" He says it as Bruce Wayne.
Right.
See, he's not been doing the voice anymore.
Right. So the whole thing of appearances starting to blur now.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great punch that is.
He's at one with his identity.
I love when he punches him in the gut because he's got the body armor. He's like, oh, because he just completely breaks his hand.
The absurdity of this, though, just the madness. I love the cutaway of. Oh wow.
I love that punch.
Kim Basinger's given a great cutaway there.
Yeah.
Reaction shot. But she's very funny, she can be very funny. I just wish she was...
She's good at reactions, isn't she, I think?
Yeah. She's great. And she was brilliant in Lady Confidential.
Oh, that film is so fucking good.
But I wish she was given more of a chance to do something like Michelle Pfeiffer had done.
Yeah. It's just, unfortunately, they just couldn't really... Though I think they're so heavily focused on these two. I think Vicky Vale, her dialogue, she just doesn't have anything to say. And as I said earlier on, she's just kind of just screaming. That's all she does.
I love this, and the logic of him pulling them over is so flawed, but there's such confidence in it, and it's shot so elegantly.
The opticals here are so kind of rough around edges because his suit goes from purple when it cuts to an optical, it's red. Look, it's a complete shift.
I don't think most of the audience will notice that. I don't think it's...
I did.
It's not like we're watching Superman 4 and...
Oh, no, but it's... Yeah, I mean, it was...
Thank goodness.
It was... They could have colour... I don't know. They could have kind of corrected some of it. But I mean, I think it's just the dealing with opticals and you got that colour of his
I'm not
suit.
sure if... I think it's a rear projection or a front projection shot. It looks like it's a process shot. It looks like it's done in camera. And you just, once it's shot, it's done. That's it.
Yeah. I think the unfortunate, the weaker shot. I mean, that's a wonderful shot, that wide shot. But when he falls to his death, it's this kind of animated kind of sequence. It doesn't.
Which I think was going to be a doll.
Yeah.
Initially.
Look at the scale. I mean, it's beautiful. This music here, this playful, crazy music. I mean, you think of the descent into madness that this guy has had. You know, you think at the beginning when he's looking in that mirror, all proud, a man of few words, and now he's spitting out, you know, mechanized teeth and, you know, going crazy, singing along. And this...
Do you think, actually, that... Because I watched The Witches of Eastwick not long ago, like the 4th time or something, but... His character is very similar, isn't it?
I think Jack in The Shining, Jack Torrance is very similar too. It's of a type. I mean, it's that. I think that's why it works as well, because we're familiar with this madman.
Yeah.
You know, or this version of a madman that Jack Nicholson has played before.
I love that bit. It's a weird gadget. What is this gadget? Oh, it's a leg grapple to gargoyle gadget. You know,
but it's attached to what looks like a devil.
Yeah.
In the pale moonlight.
Yeah. There's a foreshadowing in this film.
I mean, they really, like, for whatever the limitations of the script, they just went and really, what they had, they really went with it. You know?
I think for what, if something wasn't in the script, right, and they basically made it up, you know, with a short amount of time, I think they did a brilliant job, you know, just sort of the creatives involved.
Everyone, you know, Burton, the writers, Sam Hamm, Warren Scarron.
Yeah. Warren Scarron, who sadly passed away like a year later after this.
John Peters, Peter MacDonald. And that's optical.
Nah, it wasn't very good. That's definitely the weakest shot.
It's the last part of it looks like it's been animated. The first part doesn't. But that was, I believe that was all animated by Peter Chang, who was one of the founders of Double Negative. You've probably got a fair few digital compositors listening.
Yeah, I've got a few effects guys,
and they're saved by the devil in the. No, they're not. No, they're not.
I think the guys, some of the guys who had followed me, who have commented, I think work for NPC.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got a nice calm here. I mean, this is another shot.
They were supposed to. Well, there was one little bit of trivia that I read. I think it's a kind of a rumor that was circulated that Jack Nicholson would return as Batman, as the Joker in the 5th Batman movie. That was going to be kind of helmed by Joel Schumacher, but then Joel Schumacher was also dabbling with the idea of Scarecrow, so it was kind of, you know, don't know what to think of that really. But it shocks me now that they killed him off. You know, they didn't make that mistake with, you know, The Dark Knight, but obviously it's an unfortunate, horrible thing that Heath Ledger died because he was supposed to come back for Dark Knight Rises, and you know, they killed off the Penguin in Batman Returns, and who else? Yeah, Two-Face dies in Batman Forever. The Riddler's all kind of deformed by the end, and I think Mr. Freeze is okay, but I don't know about Poison Ivy. I can't remember now. She's force-fed Ivy. There you go.
It's nice that comes to a close, although Knox hasn't really done anything.
No. He's got the same fruity hair as Michael Keaton. From Batman.
Listen to Billy D. Williams' voice. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. It's wonderful.
Read the phone book.
Yeah, you can read the phone book, yeah.
You know, the mayor of New York used to say, "How am I doing?" Ed Koch, who they based this mayor on. That was his slogan.
He gave us a giant pager.
See, we only knew this from the TV show, The Signal.
Because it also, as well,
the
Signal, the Bat Signal logo is different to the one that's on his chest plate. That was always weird as well. Remember the chest plate one was different, it had extra legs to it. That was kind of confused me as a kid. I was like, oh, it's slightly different. And it's different to the Bat poster.
Wow.
You know. This is because, you know, how Superman ends where he flies above the earth, which is an iconic kind of moment from those films. And this does something with a similar sense of triumph.
Yes,
at the
absolutely.
End. But it's Batman's way of doing it. And you've got him standing at the Bat Signal. And he's, you know, standing there going, hey, you called me. What do you want? But it's just the music is so fucking good. How it builds up.
And Bruce has learned to accommodate Vicky into his life.
Yeah.
And she's learned that, you know, maybe you shouldn't judge things just based on their appearances.
Exactly.
And she'll learn to tolerate his
well, she doesn't really.
Behavior.
She leaves him.
Yeah.
I think they separate.
But you're right. This is a grand exit.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I don't... Batman Returns has obviously the symbol again, but it's Catwoman in the foreground, and I don't just nothing. None of the Batman films have had anything like this. This is
so uplifting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really
it's coming
is.
out of all the darkness. It's coming out of
and
all
he
the
stood
squalor.
on the cathedral. And again, I think that represents his mind, you know, because he's come, you know, he's put all that behind him now.
Yeah.
Although it has completely undone the mythology of the comic book by making him think vengeance is good or something. You know,
I shall kill all my enemies now.
You know, and this end credits music is so good. It's just beautiful march. Shirley Walker conducted this. And she did wonderful.
She did a wonderful job on the animated show.
Yeah.
And she, you know, worked with Brad Fiedel, and you know, John Carpenter, you know.
Yeah.
No, she's one. Yeah, she helped a lot of people and get into the industry who needed help. Well, that's Brad Fiedel had told me.
You know, a lot of the art department on this 10 years later, when they decided to shoot Sleepy Hollow in Britain, they were all called back, same sound person as well. You know, it's funny how a lot of relationships for Tim Burton were kind of cemented.
He stuck with the English crew, you know, from after, I think, you know, come the majority of his movies, wasn't it? I think maybe after Sleepy Hollow onwards, I think, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because my personal favourite movie of Tim Burton's is Ed Wood. I adore that film.
But it's weird how he became this. I mean, I know he married an English woman.
Yeah.
But, you know.
He still lives in England, I think.
Yeah, when you hear him say things like, I was watching EastEnders and so I wanted, what's-her-face in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, those kind of things. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, and he's got, like, you know, the lady who played Queenie in Blackadder, you know, in Sleepy Hollow. What's her name again?
Miranda Richardson.
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
You must have seen her in Blackadder and go, I want her, you know.
This is the end of the. You mentioned before about the the Prince songs. You know, they'd had pop songs in superhero films before with Queen and with Superman 3.
Yeah,
Giorgio Moroder.
Yeah.
You know, at a stretch, Supergirl, Howard Jones.
Yeah, well, Howard Jones had Supergirl had the best pop songs with Howard Jones.
And Superman 4 tried to do it
as
well, although that never came.
Because it's always about trying to fill. It was all about selling an album, wasn't it? Off the back of a movie, having all these pop songs. We didn't have enough pop songs. You put on side B the score, and in the case of this, there was 2 albums. You had Prince's album, which had a bunch of songs on it, and then I think a year later they put out the score because it was such a the producers of the movie loved it so much, and it was probably very much a common thing.
Does it represent the Joker, do you think?
Does what represent Joker? What?
The Prince soundtrack?
I definitely think so, yeah. I don't think it represents Batman. I don't think it really... I mean, maybe if I'd sat down and listened to it all the way through, there'd be some sort of themes in these songs that kind of reflect on who Batman was, but because we've had to kind of delve a little bit deeper into the psychology of Michael Keaton's performance, I don't think that those songs really would do that because it's quite limited, I think. But as you were saying, I think Prince has got stronger material of his own stuff that wasn't connected to Batman at the time.
I won't lie though. I mean, I love some of the songs that aren't on this.
I love the song that's played during the museum piece.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I don't like the Bat Dance song. I wasn't really a fan of that. I remember that was on Top of the Pops when they played the music video. I was like, "What? This is weird."
Right.
Yeah, it's completely different visually to what the film represented.
The music video for Bat Dance looks exactly the same as Schumacher's visuals.
Yeah, it really fucking does.
With a Two-Face.
Yeah,
duality.
Yeah. Well, that's when he's actually quite well of duality, wasn't it? That's what the film's kind of plays on.
That and appearances and identity and I mean it's a really good and this idea of what you see on the surface isn't necessarily what's there, and it's there, it's pumped into everything throughout with so much energy. But as we say, we over the years we've learned to love and appreciate the things that don't work and do work about this film.
Exactly, Tim. Yeah, I've
and it works.
I do sort of appreciate some of its flaws a little bit more over time, but when I reviewed it a number of years ago, it was like I never said I hated the movie. It was always like there's little bits I wish they could have improved upon, or things I were never happy with. I mean, because you look back at the critics at the time, they didn't glow about this movie. There was many who didn't like it. Siskel and Ebert didn't like this movie. They gave it a thumbs down. But they, most people did praise its look and its style and the performances. But as a definitive Batman movie, I don't think it is. But I still have little problems with the Nolan ones because they play it so real and so straight, where it needed a little bit of fantasy thrown in. Fun, yeah. That's
although they are very fun.
It's fun in a different way.
Yeah.
But with this gets the look. I love the look. That's the look of Batman I want. But I want a strong emotional core behind it.
Yeah. For me, Mask of the Phantasm is probably the better film.
Yes. And if that was live action, it would be. And
as a piece of screenwriting, I think Batman Begins is better.
Yes.
I just think as a visual event experience, this is dynamite and just something that I'm never going to forget. I really absolutely adore it. We should do Mask of the Phantasm at some time.
We should. Well, that's the perfect way to end the commentary. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. Me and Tim will be back with a commentary to Ghostbusters 2, another movie from 1989, and a film that isn't quite as fun as this movie, but there is some little bits of good stuff in it, I think. Tim's like, completely silent.
Well, we'll see when we get there.
Okay, everyone, take care and goodbye.